answer in my heart, though we spoke no word. I didn't ask for wealth or fame. I knew you wouldn't mind. I asked him to send treasures of a far more lasting kind. I asked that he be near you at the start of each new day, to grant you health and blessings and friends to share your way. I asked for happiness for you in all things great and small, but it was for his loving care I prayed for most of all.
Thank you, Cindy. That's beautiful.
Thank you, Sally.
All right. Well, we're not going to go over the calendar right now, if that's okay with you, Kristen. We're going to jump right into business. The first thing is we'd like to have a motion to approve the minutes from the council meeting of October 13th.
So moved.
John Beck moved, and a second. Jan seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Okay, thank you. Motion carries.
Just want to take a second, Nancy.
I'm sorry?
Today is the 538th birthday of Martin Luther, and this is the second cake I've ever made in my life. And I made it for you, so I will be bringing you pieces of cake during the course of the meeting. Okay?
Okay, thank you, Pastor.
So happy birthday,
Martin.
Happy birthday, Martin. Thank you, Pastor. Let's give Pastor a hand for making that.
Oh, Alice, that wasn't nice.
No, I didn't. Actually understand. By the way, if you could see the cake, it's all smudgy on the top. That's because I bought one of those things where you could write something, and I was gonna put sin boldly. That's a much harder thing to do than you realize, so I just ended up trying to scrape it off. Okay, I won't interrupt you again.
No, perfect. I knew you said about the cake, but I really forgot, so.
Okay.
And I've been on the road. I just got home last night, so just excuse anything that happens today. So we know our primary focus today is nominations and the budget. And Alice did you want to? Okay. No. All right. And Bill Hinterman asked if he could come for a few minutes, and I asked him to be brief, so he got that, to clarify some of the property items that he had discussed a few months ago, and maybe some others. So that, and we need to have that for the budget discussion anyway. So it's a good time for him to explain that. So we'll give him a few minutes to talk about those property items. Let him have the rest of his day to enjoy. And then we will go on to the nominations and then hop over to the budget. So does that sound good to everybody? Okay. All right. This is probably one of the busiest council meetings of the year. So Bill?
Shall be as brief as questions you ask. Two items that normally are not in the budget that we're requesting consideration for. First of all is to complete the expansion of the lighting in the sanctuary. We started last year with the altar, and the total project cost for this labor and material is $11,000 plus or minus a few, not thousands, but dollars. The overview is that right now the average foot candle lighting in the sanctuary is 23 foot candles, and that varies from 10 around the perimeter to 30 some at different spots under the light fixtures. Lighting should be somewhere between 55 foot candles for people over 50 years old. And you can see by the lights that are presently already over the altar the difference it makes when you raise the lighting level up to what it should be.
Nobody can see. It's very bright.
That's why we have lemons on it. This started back in 2012 when we first ventured into LED lighting without any idea what we're getting into, and we got the most powerful lights that we could get at that time, and it turned out to be far short. And although you don't really realize it, it's really dim in the sanctuary. So overall, request is to add 17 more powerful light fixtures to the sanctuary to raise the lighting level up. It's increase the speed and comprehension of being able to read the pew cards. They're so small, waiting for old people to read.
John, isn't this already in your budget?
Yeah,
We do have 11,000 in the budget for that, for the electrical repair.
what,
For
yeah,
the ceiling
okay,
lights in
yeah,
the sanctuary. We already
Yeah.
have that.
I put that in our budget, hoping they will.
Yeah, it's already there. Well, I'm only here to answer your questions. That's all I'm here for.
Oh.
Yeah, that's already in, so
You're good, Bill.
you're all good.
What am I doing here then?
We
All
wanted to
right, let me
see
go
you.
one step, let me go one step further before I got my time up.
They have, they have to approve the budget before it goes to the congregation.
Right, so that helps
Is
to
Pastor
hear the
eating this cake
background.
first before I eat it?
No, you have to pass it down, please.
No, I did.
They already has.
They're out, they're good.
Are
Hey,
they? Okay.
Bill, this is not a question, but I just want to say, I think the chancel in our church is magnificent with the lighting you've created.
Thanks, Pastor. My question was, have you eaten this cake before we get into it?
No,
No. Don't you have a taste tester so that the council don't get wiped
no, I
out?
had a couple of boys who tried for that.
All right, the second item here is the choir loft air conditioning. It's historically been low. It is not a high priority in that how many people are affected by it in the choir, probably maybe 1 out of 5 are sweaters, if you will. That would be help, plus the fact that Rick has suffered for multiple years of temperature problems up there, and there's no solution to cooling it down. The only 2 rooms in the entire campus that are left is the choir loft and the kitchen in Shepherd's Little Flock, where somebody can say, it's too hot in here, cool it down for me. Those 2 rooms do not have capacity for cooling because they are maxed out. So the question is whether or not we want to invest another $11,000 to cure that historic problem or not.
And this is, Bill, is this for the choir, the
This is for the
11,000?
choir loft,
Okay,
yes. Both requests were in the area of $11,000.
okay.
I think I got that in, what do you call that?
Well, you noted that you need $11,000 for materials and labor for the choir loft area in the contingency fund.
Contingency fund.
So the only reason I'm here is to answer questions one way or another. The air conditioning, to put a final note on it, is people will assist up there besides Rick, probably not a lot of people, but Abraham argued with the Lord, and I'm not on that level, of course. I'm not talking about 30, but will, if it helps 4, will it help up there? So, questions, please.
If you spend any time up there, it'll help.
Yes, because the vents that are there just affect the person that happens to be sitting under the vent
And the
So-
person in front.
and the person in front of bounce off me, sorry. So you're either very, very cold or you're very, very warm, depending on the season. There isn't any distribution there. Yeah. No distribution.
And what Bill came up with is not a repair, it's an addition. So that's why it's hopefully in a contingency fund.
And may I ask why it's so expensive?
For an air
It's so
conditioner.
expensive because of the fact that to reconstruct another lesser expensive air conditioner is trying to get the ductwork and everything up through the building to the top of the church when it's already built around.
So there is no ductwork now?
There is ductwork now with the existing HVAC system. It has a air handler furnace, if you will, upstairs, and it has a condenser outside. This one here has a condenser outside, and it's a high efficiency unit. Where the unit, you'll see them, you've seen them in different houses, they're mounted on the wall, they're just maybe a 4-foot unit.
like a Mitsubishi, like one of those.
Thank you, that's exactly what it is, and with that, it simplifies getting the piping up to the attic and the work done in the attic. And tying it in with our control systems that we have for our Wi-Fi control. Just a lot of details, but it's a more expensive system, but it's labor intensive and it's an expensive system.
So we can't approve it anyway. We could just pass it on to the congregation because it's $11,000.
I guess I'm just here to explain it so that you have enough information to make your decisions.
Does that include the installation that process?
That's everything. That's- Yeah. So with that, any questions? Then I'm done, boss.
Well, thank you, Bill, and may I ask you if you don't mind just writing up a little something to help Sue with the minutes. So if you can send us something in an email, that would be perfect, because that will help with the minutes.
Yes.
So, but we appreciate
Be
it.
glad to do that.
And before we let Bill go to enjoy his afternoon, does anybody have any other questions? Because we're not looking for a motion or anything right now. We'll discuss it within the budget parameters, I think. So,
Thank you for the time. Appreciate it.
thank you. Bill. And we appreciate everything you do. Let's give Bill a hand for the invite. Thank you.
Bye, Bill.
Bye.
All right. I'm going to turn the floor over to John Beck and Jan for the nominations. And if anybody needs to leave the room, let us know.
No, I don't think anybody needs to leave the room. I gave you a handout, I think, at the beginning of the meeting that looks like this.
Yeah.
What that is there was another form that had been developed before, but this is the form that I developed to kind of keep track of what's going on, so that you kind of see from one year to the next what happened. And so for 2021, the positions that we need to elect are in the highlighted boxes. That's where the candidates would appear. If this were the final ballot. At this point right now, I've just made a list of candidates on the outside of that. What I would just like to point out a couple things. Where you see under the property group, you can see out to the right, there are a couple lines with question marks on them. What John and Bill are working on is they're looking to develop someone who can step into Bill's role as kind of the master electrician for our group. And they do not at this point have someone, but that is the intent, that they would get one. So if we can get somebody before the actual ballot goes out, we would add that name to the ballot. If not, then it could be a council appointment following that.
Do we have an
So-
electronic version of this that I can look at?
Kristen's up on the TV.
Oh, no,
Okay,
I'm not very techie.
well, yeah,
I
just,
can take a picture and text it to you, Chris.
yeah, you can take a picture and text it. That's great. Thanks. I just want to know what we're talking about.
Okay, and then there's another place where we have question marks. If we had a vice treasurer, it would be up for election this year. We do not at the present time have one. But just as the nomination for somebody in the property group comes primarily from that group, I would look at this as if there were going to be somebody in that group that recommendation at least would come from the finance group. And at this point, there's not someone to recommend, but there could, if there's no one by the time we have the election, then this might be something that would be coming as an appointment. One of the things that you'll see is that for the bigger groups, like John's group, the property group, for the elders and so forth, the nominations, the recommendations come from that group. So you can see that they have a rotation. There's a group of A's and a group of B's and a group of C's, and they come up every third year for re-election. But if there were going to be new people coming to the property group, the nominating committee doesn't go out and try to find people, doesn't go out and shake the bushes to find berries to put on the pie. that comes from that group. And so one of the things that I would like to see us develop is more input from the groups when it comes time to have a recommendation for an election, that it could still come through a nominating committee, but that it would be the group that would recommend. And what we've in the past have encouraged is that one of the things that we're using in the ECM group, and I think some of the others as well, is the concept of a vice chair. So that when I go to Florida, Vicky takes over and she chairs the ECM group while I'm gone. And that can also be a training position for someone as well, so that if you're a chairman or you're a leader of a group and you would like to eventually cut ties and be able to do other things, then that's the way that I believe would work out best, is develop that person who can take your spot. And then when it comes time for an election, you can recommend that one to the nominating committee and they can pass it on. Unless there's some obvious reason not to do so. But there's a good reason to try to maintain as much compatibility and workability within the groups. And so if we just insert people who've not already acclimated to that group, we could very well just do more damage than good. So there's some, I think, some good logic for doing that. But at this point right now, these are the names that the nominating committee would recommend for the ballot.
Okay, thank you, John, and thank you, Jan, and Pastor, the whole nominating committee. It's quite a bit of work behind the scenes that people don't really always realize, and so we really appreciate that. Any questions for the nominating committee?
I just wanted to mention, I introduced a new member to Alice the other day, Robert Bowie, who thought that he might have a role at some point with finance or accounting. So,
Laura's wife.
and his wife too,
Right.
who broke her wrist
That won't happen.
anytime soon.
That won't happen because did you hear how he got her out of the old church? She finally had to quit. She couldn't, she was so stressed and couldn't find anybody to take her place. And he finally told her, you just gotta quit. So I don't think she's gonna be
Yeah,
up for it.
okay.
Maybe a counter or something like
Yeah,
that, but I don't. She was the treasurer.
Okay.
So
I think
I
we
have
might-
I have a comment or a question. It's me. I'm gonna be here for 6 months. So I'd really like someone to step in for tech.
Who would you recommend?
Do you have a recommendation?
Someone from my team or one of the new people. I actually got 4 new people on my team. Maybe one of them, I could talk to them. But I thought I was up for election.
You're not.
Yeah, I noticed.
But that doesn't stop you from having a vice chair. That's an internal thing as far as I'm concerned. That should take place within the group. So you could have a vice chair who could attend council meetings or do whatever other work that you had planned.
Okay,
Nothing wrong with that.
okay. Sounds good.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? And then whenever, John, whenever you're ready, we could put this up for a recommendation of a vote.
Yeah, and with only the provision that in the event there were some additional candidates, that we can just circulate them and do an email approval or something like that, if that's what's necessary before the actual election.
Okay, sounds great. So do you want to make a motion?
Yes, what you're looking at would be our recommendation for the election.
All right, so John Beck recommended this slate for the election with the provision that additional candidates may come in before the election, and we'll circulate those via email to the council. I'll help you with it after. Because we're using this slate for the election. That's the main thing. And just that, you know, if we have anybody else come in to any of these vacant slots, we will do that by email before the congregational meeting. And then we need a second for that.
Second.
Who second? Michelle? Michelle Plina, second.
Was John?
Oh, John Beck. Michelle. So any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Okay, motion passes. Thank you. All right, now, our favorite topic of all time is the budget.
Can I interject
Yes,
one thing before
yes,
we do
Charlene.
that? I just want to let you all know that I have now got a new chairman for the kitchen committee, and that is Cynthia Rossiter.
Okay.
So I only represent.
What about Cynthia?
She is chairman of the kitchen committee now.
Oh, but not fellowship.
No,
Nothing good.
she doesn't want to be fellowship because she doesn't want to come to council meetings.
So you still fellowship?
Yes,
We need to get you
Cynthia
released,
Rossiter.
don't we?
I just need some more people to help out. And I haven't had a chance to call people in the last couple of weeks. I'm just feeling great. So
Chairman of the
I haven't done
kitchen
anything
committee,
but
that's a
sit in the chair.
subcommittee.
We've got gained a lot of great people.
I know, yeah. Yeah. I
Is
can
there an
just
electronic
volunteer, so I have to- What?
Is there an electronic version of the budget?
We haven't seen anything yet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was good.
Okay, and I did add a few things to the agenda, so I will mention those as we get through to them. But one of the things that Alice and I talked about in getting into the budget discussion is that everybody put in their request for budget, but there may be some line items that need to be put in different places. And so one of the things that the finance team is looking at is what is the best place to put some of these line items. So that's something that we had discussed. Alice, is there anything else that you want to mention before we get into the budget discussion?
Probably not.
Okay. And so one of the things Kristen asked is, do we have electronic copies of the budget for consideration?
It's on the computer, correct?
Yeah.
We can.
Are
send
you
it
in
to
my
you,
computer, Kristen?
No.
Save it and then send it to her by email.
Is that what you sent me for this meeting?
No,
No.
that was just the up-to-date
Oh,
budget,
okay.
not the new budget.
Okay.
No, it's
Proposal,
subject to change. so.
yeah.
Okay, so what
We
will
can
we,
figure it out when it's all said, and done we can send it to you
okay,
by
so
email.
what are we gonna use for the discussion today? To go over the budget?
I gave you a copy of the budget.
She just handed them out.
Oh, okay.
It's a new one.
Okay, I see. Profit and loss budget performance,
Yes.
January through December 2022.
Right.
Okay. And we don't have an electronic copy of that yet. Available.
We just made a copy. We just got.
But it's on,
letter.
yeah.
Yeah.
Can you give a copy to Chris and she can scan and email it to me?
I'll do that.
Thank you.
Okay, all right. So are there preliminary things that we can talk about before Kristen gets a copy?
I have something,
Okay,
you know, we talked about, the House of Hope,
Trinity.
Trinity Hope.
Mhm.
I get them all mixed up. I have so many. Trinity Hope. Can we decide or talk about having a door donation on the 4th, December the 4th, which would be the Saturday, and December the 5th, which would be Sunday? Could we do a Trinity Hope donation thing
In lieu of the thing.
in lieu of the paper.
So. if you
And
just-
then I still have that other, we still have that other bit of money that we can add to that.
Okay.
But would the door thing be all right on the 4th and the 5th? Because I figured that would be the first weekend in December, the weekend before Thanksgiving and the weekend after. I didn't think were good because a lot of people travel. So I thought the first weekend in December, and then of course got a little bit before Christmas.
So just make a motion to do that and we'll
Yeah.
just vote on it.
Yeah, okay.
We can do that quickly while we're
We're
waiting.
ready, yeah. So I make the motion to have the door donation for Trinity Hope on the 4th and 5th of December.
Okay.
Thank you.
And who
Can you
seconded?
put something into
Who
the
second?
newsletter
seconded.
explaining
Pat.
what Trinity
Pat
Hope is for
seconded,
the
so
congregation?
Chris Grant and Pat.
Kristen?
Yeah.
Did you hear that? We're gonna have the door donation for Trinity Hope on the 4th and 5th of December. I guess you could put that in soft notes,
Okay,
please. And then
A little description. of
a
what-
little description of what Trinity Hope is.
do I just Google that or do you want to write something up and send it to me?
I really, do you have stuff you can send to her, Nancy?
We can find something.
Okay.
We're just looking for a couple of paragraphs, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be a good newsletter article
Yeah.
for
Oh, for
December.
December.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's
Well,
do that.
maybe you
then
and I can
Kristen
get
could
together
use the
and
same
do
thing.
something. When do you have to have that, Sue Cox? When do you have to have that by?
20th.
The 20th of November.
So really, Kristen and Sue
It'll-
probably
it'll-
meet about the same time, and
Okay.
we can just kind of put a brief in soft notes and then a longer article in
In the
the
newsletter?
newsletter.
I'll
Okay.
give you a call. Well, we'll get together and find out when you're free and when I'm free, because I'm getting ready to work a lot.
Okay, that's fine.
Master, there's gonna be a door collection first weekend in December for Trinity Hope,
Okay,
4th and 5th.
okay.
All right, so Pastor had that sent to you, Kristen, so we okay to start talking about the budget.
Okay.
Hey, Alice and Charlene, do you want to lead us through the discussion? What would you like us to look at?
Might as well just start with the first, well, elders on here.
Is this the right document that I'm looking at here?
Yes.
Okay.
Profit and loss.
Yeah.
Budget
Yes,
performance.
That's the right one.
We just didn't change. it.
Okay,
Should be 4 pages.
January to December 2022.
so this is proposed, okay.
Can you explain this? You got one column, third column, it says January to December 22, it's all zeros. Is that where you just?
Because they
Because
haven't,
this is
nothing's been
from
spent yet in 22.
We're just looking at the annual budget on the right side.
Yeah, just start with the budget.
Far right.
Far right.
That is the budget.
And the income, that's projected income for next year, right? Projected revenue.
Is that based on this year's bidding?
So Steve had, a fair amount of increases on his. I know that when he was, at the last meeting, he was talking about $7,000, I believe it was, for the bells that are in his budget. We do have an equity account for the choir that has some money in it that could possibly go to the bells. And that's about $2,200. We could use some of those funds to go for that. That money has been in there for years.
Okay, so you have an equity account for the choir of how much?
It's 2271,
22,071.
2271.
Oh, 2,200. I was trying to make it.
Yeah,
22.
only 1, 2.
Okay. Okay, so $2,271 in a choir equity account, and I'm just repeating this so Sue can get this for the minute. Okay, and that could be used for,
That could be put towards the bells,
put toward the bell.
Yeah.
Okay,
so it wouldn't be, I'm pretty sure he said it was.
okay. Is there anything else that you can think of that you should point out to us?
Is all of that about the bells? Why are we bringing that up right now? I'm a little offended. Is it because
He put it in his budget.
we put it in? Okay, so we're increasing the budget in order to accommodate the purchase of the bells?
That's one of the items, yeah.
Okay.
Of course, the insurance went up a little bit for the employees, which makes the Concordia bill go higher.
Yeah, we raised 45,000, didn't we?
No, that's a different, this is
Oh,
the
that's
insurance side of
Oh,
it, yeah.
okay.
There may be some increases in some salaries. People. I
Should I recuse myself? Should I step out of the room?
Don't look at
I don't
that.
think it's necessary, unless anybody else thinks so.
No,
If you brought your financial statement that Alice sent to you or Charlene sent to you prior to the meeting, if you had that, it would be very easy for you to just take that out and lay it beside these numbers and see how the budget changed from last year to this year.
Okay. And I have mine.
no, there was no increase from last year for Rick / Judy. They moved positions around, so there's no increase because of the award.
So
But
with John's method, it looks like there's about a $20,000 increase in Elder's budget, right?
it was 242 and now it's 274.
Okay. I guess I'm looking at it wrong. 'Cause I've got 254 on the one that I'm looking at.
I might be looking at the wrong one.
Okay, I'm looking at the October 2021 statement of activity.
254.
254 to 274.
274.
So about 20,000-ish. Okay, does anybody have any questions about that? Okay, except to figure out if the bells, if the way that we want to handle the bells should be a budgeted item, that would be.
Because that's in the music and choir supplies, that 9,000.
That 9,000.
But it may not,
Okay.
like 2,000.
That would help. It's- I didn't know Steve wasn't going to be here.
Well, along those lines, the reason why I was a little concerned about the bells, I know the history of it. And that was a few months ago, we invited Rick to join our elders meeting, just so that we could talk to him about the music program. And that went very, very well. But then at the end of it, I just simply made the comment, you should meet with us once a year so we can talk about your long-term goals and how we can help you get there, that kind of thing. And he just very haphazardly said, well, it might be nice for us to get another octave of bells at some point. It wasn't something that he was actually asking for. He just kind of said that like someday down the road. And then, I don't remember what meeting it was at. It might have been a top 5. I'm not exactly sure, but Steve brought that up
Last council meeting.
Last council. meeting,
as
yeah.
if it were an official request from Rick. But I think the whole thing is dubious because he doesn't even know that he would have that many people playing a whole nother octave, and he doesn't know that he would have the space. And I really don't think that he ever actually asked for the bells. He just simply said, maybe someday we can get another octave for bells. So that's why I'm a little concerned about watching this conversation advance. I mean, Pastor B about is nodding his head.
This, yeah. And the thing you did say is unfortunately that this next octave is the most expensive octave,
Okay,
especially now with the price of silver and gold.
okay.
So I mean, before we think about how we would invest in something of this magnitude, I think we should talk to Rick more about how serious this is and if our choir loft can even accommodate the space.
Okay.
I think so.
So,
No, because you'd need another
And
table.
Steve's
And
not
there's no
here.
room for
so-
that.
I'd have to go to the left of the choir loft there, where they were playing the instruments on Reformation.
So I would say for right purposes of the meeting, let's just say the line item about music and choir supplies of $9,000 includes a potential request to enhance the bells. However, this may not be a formal request at this time. We need to review this with Rick before moving forward with the elders portion of the budget. So that's how I would say it, so we can keep moving through.
right,
And we know we question that, so those would be questions that we would come back to. Does that make sense?
sounds good.
So thank you.
There was another item too with the elders. They were gonna be training new Stephen ministry people. So they had an extra cost for that,
For training.
$3,000.
So does anybody have any more information
Yeah,
about that, the
$3,000.
3,000 training?
So that was what made that one go up. It wasn't in the budget.
Is that anything we should discuss or,
No, that was just a larger size item that
okay,
we could talk about the finance budget. I'm really happy about ours.
okay.
Ours has gone down.
Is everybody
considerably.
ready to move on to the finance
Oh,
budget?
sorry.
Okay, all right, Alice, go
Ours-
for it.
Yes, it sure did.
Ours went from 87,000 to 41,980. Due to the fact mostly that we don't have mortgage payments, and after the end of the month, hopefully none at all. Because we'd be trying to get approval to pay off the mortgage at the November meeting.
Wow.
Do you want to make that motion now
Oh,
that we're
let's
on
do it.
finance?
Yeah. I don't have a dollar amount. You have to wait till I get a little closer to get the exact payoff.
Okay, yeah,
Yes.
let's just make the motion to pay it off,
Pay
whatever
off
it is,
the
and
expansion.
approximately whatever. And we'll do that, so. Alice, you wanna make that motion, because I know it'll be a fun thing for you to do.
I would like, yes, I will make the motion to pay off to get approval to pay off the expansion fund mortgage in the area of $25,000.
I'll second it.
Yeah.
Okay, so Alice made the motion, Chris, you seconded it, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm all for paying off mortgages, man.
okay, and a lot of our church members have been asking about that too,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah,
they're
yeah, I
right.
think everybody's just on board with that.
Yeah, yeah.
So council will recommend this to the congregation, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Is there anybody that doesn't want to pay it off? Okay.
Oh, yeah, we gotta burn the mortgage.
Yeah.
Both of them at the same time.
Yeah, both of them at the same time.
We don't actually get.
Congratulations, Alice and finance team, for all your work on this.
Yeah,
You
that's
have
for sure.
Really stuck to it. Anything else on finance?
That's pretty much the big thing.
Congratulations.
Mhm.
Any questions on the finance portion? Okay, great. Okay, looks like church property is up next. John?
I had it. Or become.
Maybe page
Can you help me with this, Christian?
What are we looking at?
Look at property.
Right here?
Just trying to pull it up on his,
Okay, I got it.
I have it right here. Can you see it?
Kristen has it up here too.
We can't see it, yeah. It's small.
Anyway,
She might have been.
starting from the bottom line, it looks like we're doing good as far as the whole budget. I don't know for sure what's gonna happen, and especially in the natural gas. I think maybe pump that up a little bit more too, just from hearing what they're saying on the TV and, I mean, some of them say that it's really gonna go up.
3 times, I think, increase 3 times.
Oh, yeah. Crazy. The other one was, I want to talk about was it's kind of a new account number.
Oh. It's the last one.
Well, that's electrical repair.
Oh.
4225,
4225.
yeah. I think what I put in my request was just what Bill was talking about, the light.
Right.
But if he leaves us, it's gonna make a difference. We will be getting contractors to do stuff like he's done. He saved this church thousands of dollars just from his knowledge and work. But he's at the position now, we're really lucky we got some good guys. We got a lot of people on the property crew, but there are some that he will usually ask help, and they're learning from it too. And they'll go ahead and make repairs and installation of this or that, and they're getting better at electrical, but he's the guy that comes over and says, do this and do that, you know. But he was thinking he'd be gone from us, property group, in about a year. So how do you know how much you're gonna be paying contractors after that? Because we don't have that experience and talent. So.
We need to recruit a new member who's in the
Well, I won't say his name, but
And a plumber, yeah.
I won't say his name, but I know somebody in this congregation that might, if we can persuade him to join us. It would help, especially if he did it right now, because then Bill can teach him a lot of stuff. But other than that, everything looks pretty good. I upped the custodian fees a little bit, and the reason why was, I think, I don't know how many weeks it was, the two were on vacation at the same time or something. And we had to hire a company to come in, a lady, it was just one lady, but she did a great job. But you gotta keep that in mind that. And I think I did add a little bit.
Yeah.
to it, you know?
Yeah.
Other than that, we're doing pretty good, I think, with the budget that we have so far. But is there some way we can add to that contingency fund now or no?
Or
Well, just
Unforeseen stuff.
electrical-
Oh, we always
no,
have.
I'm sorry, electrical repair.
you mean for future things that might come up?
Yeah.
That's, we will have sufficient money in the
Contingency.
contingency fund. The other item that we added was the storage in your budget.
Oh, yeah.
Because of, we had a conversation because of all the problems with not having any place to put stuff. And so John has right now $3,000 in his budget. And so John and some other people are going around the church trying to see what they can do to create more storage for everybody.
Yeah, the girls especially, and the guys too, we've been hitting just about every storage area and trying to clean up and look at what has been sitting there for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years.
Right.
So we get rid of either to Habitat or recycle or burn pile or.
And nobody seems to miss it when it's gone.
They don't,
Isn't that
no,
amazing?
no. Look at, if you look up above the kitchen, that place was packed with stuff. We got rid of a bunch of stuff, and like you said, nobody missed it.
And Karen and Mary took me around to show me all the stuff that's ever, I didn't go over in the fellowship hall, but I took pictures and I promised I would ask council to please, if you have anything stored or anything you care about, please look and see if you can move it or organize it so that the burden doesn't all fall on the property crew, because it can be overwhelming and everybody's asking for more storage, but we probably need to clean out what we have before we build more storage. So I want to make sure we capture that in the minutes, that we've asked everybody to go through and make sure that you take out or find a place for the things you need. And I know when Karen and Mary and I looked at that back storage room near the men's restroom, a lot of the shelves that were designated for, shelves or closet space that were designated for one board, people have just been putting stuff back there, and then some of the doors are covered so you can't get in them, and so it's, you know, everybody would think about that a little bit. We would appreciate
It's
it.
been 3 years, I think it's been 3 years since Roz was in charge of that whole project, and 3 years, you can accumulate a lot of stuff and.
And Sage,
Not to get ready, so-
Sage and.
Clean out
That
all
we
the
don't-
storage area. Huh?
Really,
we
we
don't-
did our stuff. when they were
These board
redoing the
members.
kitchens.
Okay.
We
Council
had to
members.
put so much back there to get out of the way, and before when they finished, then we went through things and got rid of what we didn't need. So what's in that storage room in the fellowship hall is probably things we have to have.
You mean in the back room, in the, under the.
Yeah, because we're just using the shelves, we're not using the floor. And Karen, I know, assumed that we were using on the floor too. I said, no. And then I found out there was a box of plastic tablecloths. Sally called me about that, were on the floor there. I didn't even know they were there. And they went upstairs by the choir loft over where there's some,
Over here.
because if we need to go through it, I would bet that there's a bunch of
Now Karen
tablecloths.
and I think there's a whole lot of stuff in that
There,
room.
there
that needs
is
to
on the
go.
shelves, there is,
Yeah.
but
On
we
the
don't,
floor, you-
But none of that is what you want. So if it
no, it is
disappears
what we want.
in the fellowship hall,
Yeah,
I mean, here,
no,
oh,
not in in the fellowship hall, in the storage
you're
room.
good.
If there's anything on the floor, it's underneath the shelves. We used it as kind of another shelf. Other than that,
But nothing's up in our.
no, except that box of plastic tablecloths, and I'll bet you we can get rid of most of those. They probably have holes in them. People tend to save things.
So if everybody would please go look
I
and
use
let
them
John
drawers.
and Karen know, that, why don't we just have everybody let you know, send a note to John and Karen and say, we've checked and, we've accounted for the things that we need, and just let them know what you're doing. That way, at least they can feel comfortable that everybody has looked through whatever is in there. So that's kind of an insert, but that's on the agenda, so we covered that. Okay, any other questions on church property? Everybody feel comfortable with what we have on church property? Okay. One last time for any comments. Let's move on to Board of Christian Education.
Well, I think that budget went up.
Yeah. Basically what happened, was portals of prayers from the elders to Board of Christian Education.
That does make a difference, doesn't it? Okay, any questions for the Board of Education? Okay, Board of Church Growth, Sally's not here. Is anybody representing Church Growth? Sue?
Yeah, the only thing she gave me to talk about, and doesn't have anything to do with the budget. She wants to see if she can get permission to have a angel tree for the House of Hope, to collect hats, gloves, and scarves for foster kids, homemade or store-bought. My hopes to utilize one of our Christmas trees located in the gathering place where hats, scarves, gloves, or mittens can be hung on the tree. Foster children in this county will benefit from this gift giving. Homemade as well as store-bought items can be given. I hope you all find it in your hearts to let us put up this angel tree. I believe that this will be a very beautiful project to restore hope for these foster children at Christmas time. Ages are 3 to teenage years.
Don't we have a thing? Don't we have a thing?
We have had, I don't think we do it necessarily every year, but we've done angel trees of a sort.
That was for, wasn't that a member?
A
family?
particular
Yeah,
family.
Okay.
For stewardship, so normally this comes, these types of things come out of stewardship.
Oh, okay.
normally.
Exactly.
And so stewardship, we did an angel tree for a family in the church that was having difficulty, and we got gifts for the children for, I think, 2 or 3 years we did that. We haven't really had an angel tree for outside agencies. I know that there are groups in town that do angel trees at the bank, and I don't think we've ever participated in that.
They reached out to me, but I haven't called them back yet.
I'm sorry.
They,
Oh,
yeah, a bank has reached out to me wanting us to participate, but I haven't called them back.
yeah, that's probably First National. So they do
Right.
have a lot of nonprofits that participate in that. So I would say we know we're going to have the I'm not against doing this, but I know we're gonna have the event for
Trinity Hope.
Trinity Hope. And Mary, do you have any
Well,
thoughts?
I was gonna say, what we did this summer, collecting and making those toiletry bags for House of Hope, those toiletry bags go in their angel tree bags. So we
Okay.
are already helping the angel, tree. We've already helped the angel tree program at House of Hope.
I wonder if Sally
With that.
understands.
Might not.
She
I
might
asked-
not.
I also asked Sally, I've come across another client of plateau pregnancy. She's not pregnant, but she has 4 young boys, 7, 5, 3, 4, and 3. And she's in dire straits. I've gotten her a Christmas tree. She has nothing. So I've asked Sally if we could include their 4 boys in that tree as well.
But now Nancy just said this needs to be covered under stewardship. So are you wanting to put it under stewardship?
No, if Sally's going to do one, I asked her if we could tag on. I'm on her committee.
Right.
I just wanted to add these 4 boys in that.
And I'm not saying it has to be under stewardship necessarily, but just traditionally, that's what we have done. And I think we need to look at, Krista and I have been looking at the org chart, and there is an org chart. It's a little bit outdated, but it shows what responsibilities should fall under which board. And so I think we're trying to we're really crossing a lot of boards in some of the things that we're doing.
Yeah,
And I think if we can find a way to work together more so that we're not overlapping or, just trying to do so many things that are affecting the congregation, it's really finding that balance on, we want to help everybody we can. We have the social services ministry, and that's the stewardship social services ministry is kind of why we did that angel tree, and then also got groceries for the family and things like that. And this family that Jan's talking about sounds like that might also fall under that. So it's finding the best ways to do some of these great ideas that we have and having it fall under just find an appropriate way to manage it so that everybody's not coming up with ideas. Yeah,
Is John Gruber under stewardship?
John had a question.
He has the social ministries,
But
he is in
passed it
charge.
John
on to
Gruber.
us.
Yeah,
He's under
he passed
you.
it on to me, yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
So that sounds like it should be out of there.
Yeah.
yeah.
John Beck has a question.
Didn't we talk about in council one time that the committee should, in this case like here, like if growth has an idea and it involves fundraising or really a stewardship function, that they become partners in an effort to do.
So, something like that. We don't want one board
Replicate.
ask, really well, and then the other board may already have plans and have resources. So, and I know stewardship doesn't have that many people right now. So how do we manage some of these things without overwhelming? And especially around the holidays, we're, coming up with a lot more needs. And I think we want to help everybody, but these projects can get pretty big and time consuming. So it's just looking at all those aspects.
For this year, we've only used $1,000 of that $6,000.
Yeah, in that social ministry,
ministry,
yeah.
so.
Yeah. We could,
You
I mean, we could do. I'm afraid that we just have this awesome congregation who is so giving. I mean, look at the bulletin, the amount of money that these folks are giving, and I don't want to wear them out. We had the big thing, the big stampede, and that was for several donations to different areas. We
The
had
pancake breakfast,
the pancake breakfast.
what was generated is beyond belief.
Yeah, and now, of course, I'm asking for Trinity Hope. And if there's another way we can do this without asking the wonderful people that
Again.
sit in those pews to give more.
So what I would suggest, so Trinity Hope is our traditional
Right.
charity that we've been giving to for years. So I can't even remember if we already took a motion on that. Did we already? We
Yeah,
already voted.
oh,
on
well,
that.
we're gonna have the door, we're gonna
The
have
door
the door.
off.
The door,
off.
open, but we've already voted on that?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's wait on Sally's request. Let's decide on the Board of Church Growth budget itself. If we have time at the end of the meeting, we'll talk more about Angel Tree and how we can work together on whatever we decide to do. But I just think it's a level of understanding with everybody, and let's try to work together, especially next year. We can do a little bit better planning. Most people are staying on the council, so it gives us the opportunity to kind of level set where things fall in the council responsibilities too. So let's look at church growth budget. Do we have any questions about that? Going up a little bit,
A lot of publicity.
but I think that's really an important place. When you look at church growth's responsibility is publicity
Right.
and outreach and the website. And then the new member potluck is something that traditionally we've done. I know we're gonna have to spend a little bit more on the website because we've been refurbishing the website. So we know about that. So
Well, for the last, I don't know how many years I've been doing it, but I've been doing those radio commercials, which I know are costly. But, I just recorded 6 more commercials that are gonna be on rotation until I decide to make more. So,
May I say something, Pastor?
yeah, of course.
I have friends that don't come to our church at all, but they know you. I heard your pastor, he sounds really great, so people are hearing you on the radio and it is making an impact. Whether they come here or not, it makes an impact.
Did you see his head get bigger?
I think it's Luther's hat that's
You know,
just making
I'll
it look
tell you,
bigger.
I'll make this really short, but last week I recorded 6 new commercials. And when I was done, I ran to Staples real quick. And when I was only in Staples for a few minutes, I came out just in time to hear my commercial, which was one of the ones I had recorded a half
Wow.
hour earlier.
Oh,
I could not believe the turnaround. That was amazing.
That's great. And we've heard you too, and I've heard that comment too, that they've heard our pastor, so that's great. So to me, church growth looks good. What about, anybody else have any questions? Okay, let's keep
Looks like
moving.
Sage is up.
Sage is up.
You're good. Same as last year, so.
And Sage makes great use of their resource. So we appreciate you, Pat.
Thank you for that, Nancy. And I try to balance it out because I tell everybody when you're coming just like to the Veterans Day thing, is there a cost for anything? No. This is our gift to you, the congregation, the veterans, and the first responders.
But you will take it free.
You know, we discussed that, and I'm gonna have to check with we have taken free will offerings in the past, and we have, we donated to pastors, memorial. And then we did, last year, we went to, Wounded Warrior, and then we had difficulties with that, And so I don't know, but I would like to, I don't know, I'm gonna present it again on Saturday morning. And it'll be a spur of the moment thing, but for me, I feel that we should take a free will offering and donate it to Tim French.
Yeah.
For what he has done.
That'd be cool.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. I think that's what I'm saying, and just put it out there and just. I don't know if you take it, but. I understand, but I just give them the cash, not anything else. At the end of the day, I don't think I even want to count it.
Exactly. Right.
Right.
No, I just.
But I would to report what it was, but I really think that that's what we should do, and we can just put the bucket out. there and
He
let
is
it go.
still, he is still doing that.
Oh, yeah, I saw him the other day in Kroger parking
I don't
lot.
know, people have insulted, somebody on Facebook had insulted me,
Oh.
saying that he was just doing that to get attention.
Oh,
I
yeah,
never saw
broke
him
it.
walking all this time. It's
Yeah.
terrible.
Yeah.
I hadn't seen him walk for a little while, so I was concerned.
No, he's walking.
A couple days ago,
Oh,
because I
good,
remember
good.
honking or flashing my lights, whatever.
Yeah.
He didn't seem like he was gonna let that deter him, but I was
That's it.
astounded
Yeah.
at someone.
He was in the Veterans Day Parade, and I have to give you this. The Veterans Day Parade was one of the best parades I have seen in Crossville since I've lived
I
here.
missed it.
It was long, there were
Yeah.
jokes made that nobody could have a fire because all the fire. was in the parade.
yeah.
Alright, and if I had my brothers, okay, we were down at the depot. So, and we were standing there, so we didn't really get down into town. But if I voted for if they were asking to vote for a float, it was for the Rosie Riveters, because these women are up there with the red hats and the Levi, the denim jackets, going, we could do it. But it was a
Sorry, I missed
fantastic
that.
parade, and I've been in a lot of these parades because of Habitat. But it was great, it really was super.
So thank you, Pat. Okay, let's move on to stewardship.
Oh, yeah.
We did have an increase to Senate. I believe it was 5,000 more than what it was last year. There's also an increase of $10,000 to our new ministry, our pro-life ministry, which Pastor Andrew, y'all read the message that was in the newsletter. We're hoping to make some changes in this community. We know that we can't do all the things we'd like to do, but if we could help one or two folks change the way they're living and the way they think about things and to bring them to Christ, hey, we'll be ahead of the game. So we're hoping that we'll be able to do that. Of course, John has had an increase at SLF, and that is because you no longer will be getting the government funding. Is that mostly correct?
Yeah, the thing about it is that we're going through growing pains right now, and when we look around at all of the things that have been negatively affected by COVID-19, there's numerous things, not only health, but economically and all those sort of things. But in this whole thing, believe it or not, we've survived and actually maintained a pretty steady reserve up to this point. And all because of programs that were designed to assist daycares during this COVID-19 thing.
Yeah.
And there still might be some additional
Yeah,
support.
you really don't know.
I
You
don't
really
know.
don't have a clue.
No, so what we're really doing is, as you already know, I submitted a budget around for you guys to look at and gave you the assumptions and that sort of thing. But there's so many unknowns coming into play for us that it's hard to really put a number on everything. And so what we've done is basically we requested some additional money, and we're really looking at dipping into what we have of a reserve to be able to cover next year's budget. So right now, if you look at what we've got in our reserve, we're right around that 80,000 level. And we've got a budget next year that's between 40 and 50,000 short. So if we can get through the end of the year without having our reserve dip below that, then we've got next year covered.
And of course, you all will be affected by the increase in utilities too. So
Sure.
I think
Well,
that's.
it's paid.
Yeah, I know that we pay them, but we have an amount here, and who knows what that could go up to.
Sure.
Just like the
Right.
church, you know, so we have to, but by paying off the mortgages where we don't have that payment,
But
hopefully that will help a little.
we've already spent all that. money.
Oh, I
We're gonna
know.
be spending-
Yeah, but it sounds good. It sounds
Yeah.
good.
So I'm just pointing that that's the way it goes.
Yeah. And I think we've been able to, we've had some increases over the year, over this past year, that you've been able to take care of.
Right.
Because of the slush fund kind of
Yeah,
thing.
no, not that.
Never say slush fund to an accounting person.
Contingency.
Contingency.
Contingency, yeah,
That
we
is
do.
where-
We take it out of contingency.
Yeah.
And, you know, if anything ever happened, we just go to the congregation and say,
Yeah.
we need this. And
Yeah.
So,
And just to be fair, you know, it's not all just from the income reduction. You know, we've also for years operated by paying our employees as low as we could be, and we've been trying to build that up to a more respectable level. And in the sense that was our intent all along, we just didn't have the resources to be able to do it. But some of those resources that have become available through COVID, that's where we put them.
Yeah.
And in addition, as you already know right now, the every place you go has got a sign out
Help
looking
line.
for
Oh,
help
absolutely.
and what they're
Yeah.
willing to pay.
Yeah.
And then
And
with
so if-
Buc-ee's,
Oh,
If
yeah,
we,
Buc-ee's is really good.
if we want to
Yeah.
have any employees to operate the
Mhm.
daycare, we have to do something in terms of compensation. So that's really the two things. There's some income loss and some
And
additional
you're
salaries.
not at full capacity yet, are you, John?
What
We're-
student-wise,
We're near this,
Student wise?
our license is good for 7.
Okay,
And we've had, during this time, I think we've hung around that 60 mark. And I think that's basically what we used for next year's budget, is that higher number.
so if you did get, say, 3 or 4 more
Good.
kids, that would help you out too,
oh,
correct?
yeah,
Sure.
anything over, what was it, 53, John, is there?
No, that was the planning number before. I think we're the planning number for this year. I don't remember that.
I think it was
exactly.
49, didn't you?
No, no,
was it?
no, it's 60 or 61,
Oh,
something like that.
Oh, how
for
how
this
many you
year.
could have? Oh,
Yes.
okay.
That's what we're planning on.
Oh, okay, okay.
That's what our income is based on. A higher number of students.
Okay, anything else, Chris?
Nope, that's it. That's enough, don't you think?
Yeah, did you look at
I
that
told Chris,
number?
I know, it's like-
she's in charge of a lot. so-
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I have all those mission things and
Mhm.
our
all that good
stewardship goals are to be about 25% of the overall budget minus stewardship. So we usually take the total budget minus the stewardship budget and then take a percentage. And that has been our goal since, I think, Fred and the council drew up the objectives, goals, strategies, and measured several years ago. So that's what I've always gone by in stewardship.
I'm pretty darn close.
Yeah, you're looking good. Okay, any questions for Chris and stewardship? Okay, and I didn't see anything for ECM, for early childhood ministry. Did I miss that, or was it within the church education, or?
Oh, it's a separate budget. It's not.
Oh,
in
it's
the-
on, okay, it's. we
It's
collect that
not
somewhere.
it's not in the church budget.
Okay,
I had distributed copies of what I was submitting to Alice some time ago, but if you have any questions or you want me to review anything, I can do that.
okay, no, I just was, since we were talking about it, I was just looking for it. So let's go to fellowship, and then if, what John will let, after we finish with everybody else, we'll let John talk a little bit about ECM. So Charlene,
Yeah, I lowered our suppers and fellowship by 500 because we spent such a little bit last year. And if we keep getting the donations in every Sunday, that's gonna help a lot. And so far it's been at or very near what we have spent, so that's always good. And I left the kitchen the same because with COVID, we went so many months without using the facility, so we didn't have to buy anything. All the supplies are still there, so I left it the same and hopefully we won't go over.
okay,
I didn't want to increase it,
okay,
so we
Charlene,
actually ended up 500 less.
okay. Any questions for Charlene? Okay, Board of Youth,
My budget's.
okay. Thank you, and thank you for the work all of you do, because a lot going on. All right, Kristen, technology.
Yay.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
remind me, did we talk about the IT equipment purchases and upgrades amount, or did someone just decide to give me a certain percentage of what I requested?
I don't know if we've talked about this yet.
Because when I submitted my budget,
Hey, that was cool.
thanks.
What?
So I can see.
I can't see what she's
I'm
doing.
trying
You
to
just
find my.
disappeared the paper.
Oh,
Well, I think that I was under the impression that that list that you gave.
Yeah.
Was everything that you could possibly want list, and you had to start somewhere.
Okay, so was there a reason for the 4,000 versus the 10 that I suggested? Did you pick and choose what I
Well,
picked? Or what?
because I personally feel that anything over $5,000 a purchase should be approved by the congregation. But
Got it.
to
Okay,
buy a new soundboard for $5,000 right now, when the organ isn't straightened out and all the thing with sound, and the soundboard that we have is working.
okay.
I mean, that,
No, that makes sense. That makes sense. So
Yeah.
then,
and a lot of the other items were things that aren't covered under IT. There was a lot of shelving and making space for people, and that is one of the reasons that, you know, we have that under John's budget, because it affects everybody that
okay,
needs more space, because you had like, I don't know what the sanctuary space for equipment and people for $500 was, and then there was another $500 for shelving in the sanctuary room. So a lot of it was additional or improved sound, and we don't know how the sound, I think we don't know how the sound is
so
gonna be.
it's.
Or do you need the sound of people watching it on their computer?
Is this something that should be discussed, that should be decided not just by you, but by me?
Well, Kristen, I didn't want to bother you when you were out of town and you
No,
didn't
I get,
call.
I
so
know,
didn't
that's what I'm
what
just
to
asking,
do.
that's what I'm just asking. So, so then how about if we change it to, so let's say if we need a soundboard. I've been looking at alternatives, which have been really good alternatives that are 1/5 the price. So then can we just up it to 5,000 then? From 4,000?
What else would you buy for $4,000 that were purchases and upgrades, not maintenance repair? Because you have 2,500 in maintenance and
Right,
repair.
that's if we lose a computer, that's if one of our projectors breaks, things like that.
And then the purchases upgrades would be,
Is all this kind of stuff. So like all the stuff that I proposed for this coming year.
well, like another item that, I mean, a lot of it was for the fellowship hall. There's an item on here that was $500 to upgrade stage lighting and spots, when we spent $250 last year
Yeah,
for the stage lighting.
right. We're gonna move that because it's up too close. So we're going to, you got to start somewhere. So I feel like I'm being interrogated for every dollar that I'm putting
Only
on.
because you're not here to talk, and other people have a group of things, you have itemized everything out, your mics and
Right.
cameras and other computer. We don't understand it, we don't know, nothing is broke, let's say, and we're not.
Right, right. That's why these are
replacing broken
purchases and
things, so we don't
upgrades.
know.
Yeah.
What would you like to do?
Just make it 5,000, and if I need a $5,000 soundboard, then I will bring it to the congregation, and I probably won't.
So we can see that.
So you want $5,000 for that item line instead of 4,
Yeah.
and that's just for
Am I
the
being
soundboard?
unreasonable?
No.
Anyone have any input?
Did you say you would buy a soundboard with that money?
No.
No,
You'll wait on the soundboard.
taking the soundboard out of the picture.
Okay, I can't hear you.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm trying to look closer here, Kristen. We had the recording that was in the middle of the screen, so it was a little bit hard to see.
Oh.
And so now we can see all your line items here.
Okay.
So I'm looking here. So the first item, okay, so the place that says upgrade stage lighting and spots, that's your first line
Right,
here. Okay, and that says for $500. So what
right.
did we say? I mean, is that something that's for the fellowship hall?
Yeah.
Projecting that you're probably gonna need that, correct?
Stage lighting.
Stage lighting.
Right.
So is that okay to stay in here
I don't think,
like this?
I don't know what, $500 for lights for the
Well,
stage.
yeah, I
don't
mean,
know
I
what
think
that
she's
does.
just.
Why does
Chris-
Alice get to decide what I spend?
I was just looking over the budget. I've discussed it with Nancy and to other people. What do I do? You're not here. You didn't call. I didn't want to bother you.
Okay, well, let's just go, oh, it won't take that long to go over this
I mean, we
now.
can put this on the side if you want.
Yeah, well, I guess I'm trying to understand. You're looking for projected amounts that you think you're gonna need next year for technology. And that's what we were looking at, putting the new development as much as possible under technology. So,
Right.
so we're, you know, we don't wanna second guess all the things that you're thinking, because this is what you are projecting based on what you know.
Based
And
on
so
what
I guess
me and my team sat down and talked this out a few weeks ago.
Right, right. So is there any problem with putting everything under one of these categories? I guess I'm asking Alice too. So you have a category of IT repairs and replace, and IT equipment purchases and upgrades. And
Right.
if you had to go back and forth between those two line items, it's okay, right? I mean, as
Well,
you,
not when there's, if you look at the space for equipment and people for 500 and the shelving in the sanctuary for 500 or 580,
uh-huh,
both of those have an item to the right of it that says proposal needed with signatures.
These are my
Okay.
notes. You're looking at my personal notes.
okay.
Well, I don't know what that means.
It shouldn't
Okay.
matter
I'm
to
sorry,
you.
that's the paper you
It
gave
shouldn't
me.
matter to you. There.
Is it an IT item is what I'm questioning.
So I think one of the things that Alice is saying, and this is something we talked about at the beginning of the meeting, and I'm not sure if you could hear us, but that some items, like storage is an example, that might fall under John's
Right.
budget versus the IT budget. So that's something that we might want to just move over, and it is, and there's sufficient funds in John's
Right, we
budget
don't
to
need
take
that.
care of the storage, so that's something that IT shouldn't have to worry about. So it's those kind of things that might just move over to another place. It's not that they won't be done, it's that they might move over to another place.
Okay.
So if we're looking at, and I mean, everybody's just projecting what they're gonna need for next year and all their budgets. So that's what everybody's trying to do.
That's what I'm trying
So
to do. too.
the upgrade to the stage lighting and spots, that's in the fellowship hall. So are we okay? Is that falling in this grouped budget here in these two line items? That would fall under the IT
Purchases and
equipment
upgrades.
purchases and upgrades,
Yes.
okay? And then the next line item, we've got the Wi-Fi router. Okay,
Well,
you don't
that's
have
zero.
anything?
That's done.
Okay, this, we know the storage is
Zero
moving.
things out.
Additional camera and mics in the sanctuary, so that would fall under new equipment, right?
Right. Yep. All this is new equipment. This whole thing is all
Okay.
new equipment.
Okay, so
The
the computer,
upgrades, not the upgrades, sorry, the maintenance, repair and replace is in case a pastor loses a computer. Or it's just, it's, you know, to cover anything that breaks.
okay, so just based on what you're saying, if you add up all the items that you're projecting for IT equipment purchases.
Right, now it's at 4,000 because I zeroed out all the ones that you told me to zero out.
Okay,
And so that's no soundboard at all. So if we lose a
Okay.
soundboard, then I'm gonna be using that $2,500 to get another one or to fix it.
okay, so for the soundboard, but you're projecting that you might need improvements to the soundboard. That's what you had on there before, right?
Well, I had 5,000 for upgrading our soundboard because it is quite old and it's maxed out right now with inputs. So,
Okay, so wouldn't it be reasonable to still have something under that, Alice? I think it would be reasonable to have something there, so I think we should put that back in. Because if the soundboard is getting older, it really doesn't have anything to do with the organ. It's the soundboard for the computer, right?
Yeah, it's the soundboard for the whole sound system in the
The
fellowship.
whole sound system.
This, oh, this is the fellowship hall.
Oh,
Okay.
sorry, sanctuary.
Sanctuary, okay. But that's a separate, that's totally separate from the organ. So
Yes.
it
Yeah, the
should
organ
stay in
won't be,
here.
the organ won't be plugged into the soundboard at all. It will be running off its own speakers. The soundboard pumps sound through those speakers on the walls up front in the sanctuary.
Okay, so I think what Alice was saying is that anything over 5,000 would go to the congregation. So can we estimate a little bit less than that to put in the projected budget for now?
So we'll say 2,000 max, but I mean, I'm thinking even less than that. So I mean, if we make it 1,000, then the bottom line is 5,000.
Okay, so that's 5150 for this line item of IT equipment purchases and upgrades,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And then plus the 2,500. So can we just change that line item to 5150? And that'll make it work for now?
That's fine with 5,000 is fine with me.
Okay, Alice, any?
Whatever you decide.
Okay, okay, let's go, let's just do the 5150. It's not gonna make that much difference, so. And again, it's just trying to guesstimate what we're gonna need.
All right. I mean, if you look at what I did this year, I haven't gone out and spent hardly anything and I'm way under my budget because of that. So, I mean, I'm not a stupid spender, you know, I
Right,
research things.
And you're saving us a lot of money with not having to call Cyphertech every time something
Well,
happens.
yeah,
too.
so now that brings up another thing. I think that's up under the maintenance. So it's like, I'm not saying anything wrong, but it's under the maintenance contract, Cyphertech right now. So if someone calls me that something's broken and I can't fix it, I gotta call Cyphertech, or no one on my team can fix it, and we call Cyphertech, it's gonna affect the finance budget.
Mhm.
So I suggested that Cyphertech itself be pulled out and put it under my budget. But, you know, whatever works easiest for finance.
Okay. Any thoughts about
Well, I
that?
didn't know what that 1,500 was because we had it in our budget.
On the Cyphertech, you mean?
Right.
Yeah.
That's in the payments to them, right?
Yeah, so they get a
Yearly
monthly,
contract.
get 1,400 for the year, and then we get a free hour every month. And after that is charged at like $65 an hour for them to come in and to fix things.
Yeah, so what Kristen is saying is that if she's not here and somebody on the team can't handle it, we may have more calls to Cyphertech than we normally, that we have been having since she's been here to fix so many things. And she's not gonna be here for 6 months, is what I'm hearing, because
So you think we should put more money in the Cyphertech budget?
either that or what she was suggesting is to move the Cyphertech budget back to the, back to technology so that she could help manage it with her team. So that was part of the. our
It's just a
discussion.
bill that we pay when it comes in.
Right,
That's all
that-
it is.
Right,
We're not,
and the bill may increase though, just so you're aware. So it doesn't matter where it
No, I
goes.
mean, yeah,
we're not.
I mean, we'll do our
calling
best to
them.
fix things. And when we have to call in Eric, we will.
I mean, that's just something we'll have to deal with when it
Things,
happens.
Why
then.
are we paying?
We did an hour a month free. With
Well, if we're paying them
membership.
$1,500 a month, that's really
No,
not.
here.
$1,500 a year.
Oh,
Yeah.
a year.
For the
Okay,
year.
a year.
Yeah, the maintenance contract itself is not the issue, but if you have to call them for additional services, then it runs about $75 an hour.
And then it might go up.
And that's when it may increase. So that's just an awareness.
Contingency fund.
Sue says contingency fund. I mean, it's just something we have to be aware of. That's all.
Well, it's nice to have a conversation about it. So the $1,500 Cyphertech, that's not the contract, that is in case, that's for repairs through the.
No,
year
that was the
unexpected.
$1,400 contract plus $100, you know, because if they do, say, 4 hours of work on a month, that's gonna be almost $400 extra. So I don't know, maybe we just keep it under yours, and if there are any extra things that we can't cover, that's just how it is. I mean, if we can't fix technology issues, it's got to be fixed, right? If our internet goes down, I mean, what can we do, right?
It's just like. all the
Yeah,
other
it's like anything else, right?
Yeah.
We're trying to get those maintenance contracts and things all under one.
That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
that-
just put that out there.
So with technology, we're 2,500 in line item 9,600 and 5,150 in line item 9,870. And so we're gonna change technology to match that.
Okay.
Any other questions about
What
this?
did you say?
What was the amendment?
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, if you look at the budget
I am.
and you look at IT repairs under 9,600 line item, that's
Okay, you were
2,500. I'm talking,
GL
the
number.
I'm talking
Okay.
GL numbers.
Yes,
And
okay, got
then
it.
9,870 is for IT equipment purchases. We're gonna increase that to 5,150.
50, yeah, I got it.
All right,
Oh,
okay.
7650, is that right?
Okay, now, the only other thing, first of all, does anybody else have anything to discuss under the budget that we've seen so far? John?
I was told by Karen to bring this up.
Okay,
And we talked about this about 15, 16 years ago, I believe. The front, the
Sorry.
information sign that we, girls every Tuesday go out there and
Physically.
take all the letters down, bring them in here, clean them up, take them and put them back. So I remember, I think it was 15 or 16 years ago, I did go to one of the sign companies to get an estimate of what that electric sign would cost, whatever they call it. And at that time, it was like, they could use the same frame, same brick structure. And it would cost $30,000 then.
You don't like the schools have underneath them and it's,
Yeah.
it's where they like have a ball game or whatever. The high schools have them, that digital, like, or the banks have them too. Right?
Yeah. Well, matter of fact, today we were driving down 70, there's a little church there. Here they had one. Why can't we have?
Which, may I know what church that is? Are you talking about the Blue Roof Assembly of God Church? Okay.
No, a small church.
All right,
on the other side.
My buddy Steve, who is the pastor of the Assembly of God Church, so you just go a little bit past Rural King. Over by, what's the name of that park on the right?
Obed.
Obed Park, yeah, right across from Obed is Assembly of God. He bought his sign, electric, that you could change the message all the time. And he did it through, he used a local company because the prices were too high. He did it through a company out of California for $10,000. And he said that he'd be happy to pass on all the information about that to us, because I remarked to him that he's got a very nice sign and that's an amazing price. So
So one payment for the money we're trying to pay our, what do you call it?
Mortgage.
Mortgage. Would cover it. Just one month.
It's already,
Would
put
cover
in
it.
that, that amount of money has already been
Yeah, that's not.
Put
how
put
it
in
works.
the budget to be spent in other places, because everybody's was going up, which is, you expect it to go up. But it's not like it's money available, because it's already, we don't have to spend that on the church any longer, so we used it on the other line item,
In other people's budget.
in other people's budgets,
but I do,
including yours.
but I do wanna speak up for this, because, in Shepherd's 5, we've talked about this, and this has been a pending project for as long as when I was on the growth committee, which was a long time ago. And we know the work that it takes to put the letters on the sign and everything. So Kristen and I had talked about it a little bit, Shepherd's 5, we've talked about, what would it take to do this? And I know that there's pros and cons to whatever we do, but I think we should have a place for some of these items that have been talked about for a long time. How do we, and that's what Alice, you and I were talking about, where do you allocate some of those requests that are coming in? And it's better to talk about it now that we're working on the budget. Where would something like this belong? And what do we need to do? I mean, we had the task force look at the organ. Do we need something like that for this sign? Do we need to know how that's going to interact with our systems and that type of thing? So this is a good time to bring it up, John.
Well, I wasn't against it. I'm just saying the money wasn't where he thought it was. That's all.
Oh, no, right. No, I understand that. So,
John, if you're interested in this California company, I'd be glad to facilitate, communication with Steve.
Sure.
And we
Yeah,
can
let's
follow up on that.
see if we can get a more solid
Okay.
cost.
and then the question was, where would that fall if we needed to budget for that, or if we needed to put it as a capital expense? How do we plan for that? So that was
Just like
the
we kind of do
financial part.
everything else.
Yeah.
No, that's.
Go to the congregation.
We would have to go to the
Yeah.
congregation, but if, right now we got an organ hanging out there that they may present at some point next year, who knows, depending how the repair goes and all that. So I have no problem with having a list of items, but they all have to go to the congregation. And we have to have a couple of quotes on everything. We can't just, probably not that. And does someone know how to operate it?
Well, that's
Oh,
something
and-
that would have to be
Yeah.
discussed and
Because,
so.
instead of two people going up hanging things, is somebody, how many people is it gonna involve? Trying to figure out.
Electronically.
Well, that's what we have,
Right, electronic.
right, that's what we have to ask the
It can't be
company
just
about,
one
how it
person.
would fit into our computer system and
It
that
seems
type
to
of
me
thing.
that it would all be done by computer and they train you on it.
Yeah, just do something.
Yeah.
Well, right now, the girls go speak to this pastor or this pastor. Those are the guys that know how to do it.
That's right.
You should.
That's all it is.
Yeah, just on the computer.
Yeah.
Kristen, well, I know she can't see me, but
It's
do you-
just a computer.
Yep. Yeah.
You know,
I know we've talked
it's
about it
just-
a little bit. Do you have any thoughts on this, this
I
topic?
would definitely like to be involved in this decision just because I'll probably end up learning it and having to train other people.
No, pastor's gonna do it, he said.
I would
Like I
need
said,
somebody like
Like I
Kristen.
said, I'll have to train pastor.
Well, that's true. That's
Oh,
true.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I guess for the question for this meeting is, where do those types of items go, like the organ, the sign, the things that we know are that have been coming up or will come up every year, these things that we haven't really necessarily planned for, what's the right way to plan for those?
The wish list.
Yeah,
That's
or
what I'm
like
thinking.
the unit for the choir loft would be on that list maybe. too.
But now we've budgeted that.
Oh, that's
now.
already
We're
been
putting
budgeted.
that in the
Okay.
budget. So that's why I'm asking, should we have some line items for expected capital expenses? Because it really does it fit in property, or is it just a church expense?
It's just a
You know,
church
which,
expense.
so maybe do we need a place for that to show that we already know that this might be in the plan? I'm just asking for the right way to do this. John?
I don't know how you want to do it at the church, but in industry or business, what normally happens is there is an amount of money that's set aside each year for capital improvements. Then what happens is that every capital item has to go through the process of being fully costed out, and then whatever in industry, you're looking for justification and cost savings or whatever, but in in this case here, what you're looking for is still a benefit.
Mhm.
So then it would become some sort of a process where then the projects would go through a review and the one with the maybe most benefit would go to the top of the list.
Mhm.
But there would be already some funds being created. some
Right, so a
capital funds.
prioritization process for your capital expenditures. That's what I was thinking too. I just didn't put it in the eloquent words that you did.
Well, I don't know that they were eloquent. I used to have to go fight for money every year.
I did too in industry, so I know what you mean. So Alice, would that make sense to have a capital line item?
We decide how much of our money goes there.
Well, that's what we're talking about. So,
Yeah, how
We
would
know-
you fund that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, are you gonna add it into the budget? Are you gonna add what, $20,000 for, because it's not gonna be just one
oh,
project.
we know,
It's gonna be more than one project.
right.
So we're already doing the little air conditioning thing up there in the choir loft
And lights.
and lights.
I-
And so
You know, I think every year we should have
a
a
project.
project.
Mhm.
And I had discussed that with you. And we do it at the beginning of the year, we're gonna say, this is what we're gonna do with the extra money we have at the end of the year. If everybody can agree on it. And then that whole year, if everything has gone well, then we know that we've got X amount of dollars to do this. And the congregation will be in on it, everybody, if they wanted to give extra money to just that. So we can really get at the end of the year. If we don't get it at the end of that year, then we have to keep working until the next year, depending on what it would be. I mean, that was just a simple way that I thought
Would the congregation decide the project or just the?
they'd have to, they'd have to prove it.
We would just, we could put the request to them.
Well, I mean,
like-
maybe we would have two things that we wanted to do there, you
And
know,
then, yeah,
and then say, okay, we're not gonna take a stand either way. We've approved both of these. Take it to the congregation and say, what would you like? What do you think is more important?
And again, if you have a justification or a process, like John is saying, to show the benefit, the analysis of the benefit for the congregation, I think that's an important piece of it. I just think it would be wise for us to do this kind of planning. And whether we have to wait all the way till the end of the year to do it or not, I mean, it just really depends on the importance and the prioritization of what we need. And we know, so we know for the lights, that's something to help people see. And we know for the air conditioning, that's to help people breathe up in the choir loft.
yeah. that's-
And we know that the people that are doing the sign in the middle of the winter and bad weather, we know that's been a
I
big job for a
suggest-
year.
While we're
years.
waiting, I wanted to ask Karen if we should be offended. I don't think so. But why don't we just put something in soft notes and all over the place? We're looking for a little team that'll do the signs. I mean, instead of every week beating a dead horse about the ladies having to do it, let's get somebody else to step up and do it. They can, just a little team. Until we get, until we get a sign.
It's just, it's been going on a long time. That's the only thing I'm gonna say.
I'm not saying we're not gonna get a sign,
Right.
but from now until then, let's get relief for the ladies. You know, they kind of just got stuck with it because nobody else would do it. It's not necessarily. a
But it was
problem.
Bill Reed for a long time. And then when
And
they
Dave
moved to
Martine.
Wisconsin, that's when it became.
And nobody
Karen.
picked it up, so then they just.
No,
I
It was,
think
it
it's a
was
matter
other
of-
people that passed away before that, so.
Yeah.
it's- I mean, it's been,
just, it's always there, you know, it's always done. I don't think people have even thought about how that
Right.
happened, you know what I mean?
So
It's
hey,
just
we're
always
looking
on
for
there.
a sign team. Put us the
Yeah,
saying of the week or the blessing of the week or whatever.
and there's no, you can always ask.
Mhm.
It doesn't hurt
It's a
to
good
ask.
suggestion.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not much different than doing altar flowers.
Yeah.
You wouldn't, the same person wouldn't do it every week, so
Right.
Yeah,
surely.
But
they're gonna somebody-
just until, we
Can afford this.
right.
and we can do all those things and we can make the suggestions. But I would like to have us put something
either in the budget or an appropriate place to be able to handle some of these capital expenses that really affect the whole church that are not necessarily in one person's line item. I would like to see us
Well, that's called our checking.
plan for
account.
something like that.
Our
sorry?
Checking account. That's where it's at.
But, I mean, I just think there should be a way to really plan for this. I think it's important, so.
I like that. Well, I like what you said about, we put it on the, put it to the church and have them, the congregation and for next year for the leftovers, so to speak.
Right.
I think
I
that's, I mean, 'cause
actually-
the money would be.
I
there.
think it would be better if the council made recommendations to the voters.
Yeah.
We
that's
pick
what I'm
maybe
saying,
two
yeah.
things.
Okay.
That would be the
Oh, gosh.
appropriate way to do it, because the voters
Yeah,
are
because
not
they're
gonna,
tell us.
yeah, the voters aren't gonna know all the
Covered pavilion
details.
would be nice to put it on that list too.
So,
And you know, there's a possibility that if we look at how much money we have received outside of the budget, I don't want to say extra money or.
Yeah, not slush.
No, that's-
Just if we receive more than we budgeted for.
Yes. You know, that a percent of that could go every year for X, Y, Z. That might be a little bit easier and quicker to get.
okay, so for now, the budget that we just went over, we made a couple of changes in technology. We have a question for the elders. And everything else looked like it looks good. They're ready, almost ready for congregation. So we'll make those inquiries and changes and have one more iteration before, and please send it back out to the whole council so we can look at it. I don't think another meeting is necessary to go over budget items. Does anybody think it is? Okay. Do we want to make a motion to approve the budget with those changes for now? To be sent to the congregation, upon our final email review, so that we can get through this part of it. And then let's look at what it will take to account for some of those other projects that are coming up. And maybe it's to have a task force for the sign, just like we did for the organ, because that seemed to work well. That we're looking at the pros and cons. So that would be another project. So John, you'll want to be on the task force, probably Pastor, if you don't mind, and Kristen. And is there anybody else that would like to be on that task force? Do we need representation from any other area?
Pastor John would like to be in
You're always welcome. But I think that we'll do that. We'll set it aside and have that. But again, let's think about what would make sense as far as our capital expenditures for next year, and think about how we want to present that to the congregation. I think it's good if we kind of get it all out on the table, because I know the sign in particular has been something I have thought about for a long time, because when somebody told me I was going to have to go do that sign, my heart just sank. And I was doing so much already, and I thought, I can't take on the sign, I mean, that's at the time, and plus I couldn't reach anything anyway.
Nancy, I remember when I came here, Kurt McCarty was pastor, and he was always talking. I mean, president, thank you. He was always talking about getting one of those signs up, so it's a very, very old wish.
It is a very, very old wish. So, and that's why I just wanted to have a way of handling things like that. So great. So do we have a motion to, if somebody wants to word that, to make the proposed budget to the congregation based on the changes and the inquiries that we just said, and we'll have one final iteration back to the council before we finalize that. And we'll do that by email.
So moved.
Anybody want to make that motion?
So moved.
That was
Just what
John.
You said.
John Beck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
John second.
John Wedlin seconded. So Sue, was that clear enough?
No, me either.
I'll help you with it. I'll help you.
Can I just say one thing before we
Yes.
close?
Yeah.
I don't know how many people know this, but I took Lisa for her big biopsy last week, and the results came through on Friday that she is in total remission.
Thank you so much.
Wow.
Charlene, could you send me her
Yes.
address? and
So
I'll,
John
send
Beck
it.
made the motion that
Okay.
we're gonna make this recommendation for this budget to go to the congregation. John Wedlin seconded it, but we still have a couple of items we need to check on, and so we'll do another email review before we actually bring it to the congregation. We're not quite finished yet, so there's a few more agenda items.
Because that's the same way we're doing the election.
Same way we're doing the election, correct?
I just have one thing to bring up, and it's not on the agenda. But this came to me through Jane Campion, who does our phone calling for our visitors.
Mhm.
And she said that the biggest complaint that she gets is they can't find the church.
Right.
Because if you put in if you put in the address, it doesn't come up. Because it's something about
Luther Lane.
US, yeah, this is
Sparta,
70.
this is Sparta
But
Highway.
it's really
Sparta.
Lutheran Lane.
What
Look on your
address
GPS.
is
It says.
Ah,
Lutheran Lane.
Well, that should.
That's that little road there by the
That little
daycare.
here,
Oh, okay.
That's Lutheran Lane.
Well,
Ah.
anyway, she makes our magnets for our gift bags. And she wanted to know if we could do an address correction. That would give our address 1461 Sparta Highway, in parentheses, Highway 70 West,
Hmm.
which would clarify it
Yeah.
at the corner of here.
Oh, so it comes up under Highway 70 West. That's the 1461. Oh, okay.
Right. And then they get confused because they don't realize that Sparta and 70 are the same road. And then she said at the bottom of the magnet, she could put in parentheses, near Cumberland County's Playhouse, because that does come up on the GPS. They could just put east of,
Or before, yeah, if you, before the Cumberland County
Yeah.
Playhouse,
yeah, so.
There's what it looks like. He brought it up for us.
under, what'd you put it up?
I just typed in
Sparta
141 Florida Highway. It pops up on Google. I don't know what GPS they're talking about. They may have an old.
Well, maybe they have updated GPS if they haven't updated.
Yeah, but that
But
address
anyway,
has been
she
around for
also
50
said that
years.
Chris gets many
Yeah, I don't-
inquiries of where are you located? I can't find you.
See, when I used it, when I
I
first
Googled it
came
once.
to the church, and I didn't have a problem. My GPS came up just fine,
Well,
and I was not
Hey,
that.
Kristen,
old
does
to
it
the
show
area,
Luther
so-
Lane?
So what do
Luther
I-
Lane?
Luther Lane right off to the side.
Well,
right
Luther
there.
Lane
Yeah.
is that road
Down
right there.
yeah.
It's that
Yeah.
road, actually.
Is that
right there.
even a road?
It's right here. That's it.
You
Yeah,
can
but-
look at your GPS when you pull in the parking lot here. It'll say. Lutheran.
I didn't think that was a real road.
There's a road
It's got a
sign.
sign.
I know there's a road
It says
sign,
Luther
but where does the road go?
And I thought-
To the Fellowship Hall?
She can't
To
see
the dumpster.
Kristen, don't we still have a map on the
It was
website?
supposed to go all the way over to the road on the other side. of the city. Never finished.
I see.
Kristen, Nancy asked if we had a map on the website.
We have this, we have contact. I believe there is, yeah, there's a map right here.
Oh, look. there it is.
Good.
So if they get on the website, it's there.
Oh, well.
Here's Chris.
There's Chris.
You know,
How many people have said that they can't find our church? Right? Do we jump through hoops to make?
How
one
many
person
have said they can't find
Quite a
it?
few.
I mean,
Quite a
they-
few called and
really?
said they can't find it. When we
What are they
first,
looking at?
sign up there said behind Kroger.
Where,
We
what are
went
they
up and
looking
down
at? though?
Behind Kroger. and there was a
Oh.
church.
Oh, they must be looking at the wrong church.
Yeah,
That's
maybe-
a Catholic
Catholic
church.
church is
Yeah.
back there.
Yeah.
They're probably looking at Ascension.
So I
Which is
think what
on
we should do is maybe
Smarter
we don't,
Drive.
I mean, we're fine with whatever we need to do to help people find the church. Maybe we don't need to decide right this minute what we're gonna put until we look at what would really help them get here the easiest.
Oh, they're typing in Sparta Drive or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was just
Sparta
thinking.
Highway.
No, there is confusion about Sparta Drive and Sparta
Yeah, it should
Highway.
be Sparta Highway.
Yeah, there's Sparta Drive is behind Kroger.
Okay, that's it.
It is, that's what you
See?
said.
Yeah.
Sparta Highway is
That's
up
where Central
here.
Lutheran is.
They like
It's old, actually, it's old Sparta Highway.
Yeah. Okay, well, let Pastor.
There's something I want to say to the congregation, but first, it's almost 3:30, which means my son's piano lesson is about to start, and what I could do is head that off. Gabriel, wait a second. Would it be okay if I brought Miss Annetta in here for just a couple of seconds to meet you all and to say something to you? That'll be all
That'll be
right?
wonderful.
Okay, all right. Thank you. I'll be right back.
I'd like to say something while he's. gone.
Yes.
Not, because he's not. So, Sally sent in her report for her Stampede and her growth group. And in it, said that her board is starting a fund for ovens, warming ovens, and they're starting it with $25. And I just want everybody to know there is no fund to donate to for the warming ovens. Now, other people, whoever was at that meeting, they all decided it was a good idea. And so I just don't want anybody to be.
The warming ovens work, don't they?
They're not up to par.
Yeah, well, I
But-
think they must
but-
work sometimes and not every.
Yeah,
time.
So the whole thing today was I had a thing I was gonna read specifically for Sally, on what you do to get a fund approved or a project approved or something like that. And the bottom line is everything has to come to council. Nobody can make any of those decisions on their own. And if you're not sure, then don't do it. I mean, why would a group think they could just say, we're gonna start a fund, here's $25 to get it started?
I don't remember that conversation.
She put it in the email.
She did, I saw it.
In the breakdown, $25 is to go to the fund.
And we talked about, we like the rack, the Price Lutheran has a rack. It's a portable on wheels rack. It's probably 6 feet tall and individual racks inside. Beautiful piece of equipment.
Oh,
That's what
and
we
she
were
was
talking
doing it
about.
on behalf of Fellowship.
Yeah, that doesn't work.
but I didn't hear anything about it.
Right, and it wouldn't be their budget, it wouldn't be her budget.
Yeah, so just need to clarify how things have to happen.
Right, and I'm gonna clean this up and maybe.
Send it to everybody,
Because it's
Alice, because it
ridiculous.
just helps clarify.
And something else I would just like to say for January, can we ask the boards? Or tell the boards that they should be ready at the January meeting to work on the 2022 calendar of events for the council to review. Because we're not having a December meeting. So this
Right.
is it.
But we're probably gonna do something in December, but not a formal meeting.
Right,
so.
right. So that we can get the activities laid out a little more orderly for next year.
Thank you, Alice. So I'll repeat that to you. So welcome, Annetta.
Yeah,
I'm
so,
sorry, I'm sorry.
no, we were waiting for you to finish. So, at the last council meeting, I presented, the idea that we help the community by giving Annetta a new studio. How many students do we have?
Right now, about 20.
And 2 of them are members of our church. And she was in a really bad crisis because it came out of the blue. She lost her studio. And I knew that we had that library with a newly donated piano in it, which was quite extraordinary. So I presented this to you and you guys approved it. So I wanted you to meet Annetta. She's spectacular. And we haven't talked about the calendar yet, right? But we were, maybe we're not gonna do it today after all, but we were gonna use this meeting to come up with a date for when she can do a concert for us here at Shepherd of the Hills. That's something that she wants to do for us, but I just wanted you to meet her And
Is it warmer in there?
It is, thank you, yes.
How long did they stay there?
I think about an hour and a half or so, and then I had turned it back up again.
Yeah. It's freezing
Yeah.
down. there.
So,
you still have a space heater, don't you?
yes,
Okay,
and it's working.
okay.
She was talking about the hall.
Yeah.
Oh, I
outside
see,
the
I
door.
see, okay.
I just wanted to take a moment to thank you all for this opportunity to teach here. The students love the church, as do I. It's a beautiful church. And from our hearts to yours, thank you for. And I would love to, like you mentioned, I would love to share my love with all of you at a date that you best suitable. I did give a few dates that I have something going on, but otherwise, whatever dates.
I asked her if we did in December, could she incorporate some Christmas music into the program?
It just so happened I was working on, as I have a library concert in December that I'm already working on a Christmas medley for. So it was wonderful that time just came up so beautifully, so you bet.
Right, and her students, when I encounter them in the hallway, they're just so full of appreciation and thanks for what we're doing. So I think it's great. It's a way for us to contribute to the community, because we know you are doing wonderful things. So thank you very much. Now go give my son a real hard time.
Thank you all.
Welcome, Annette.
Thank you.
And I do have it on the agenda, but probably not on the one that you're saying. So let me just go through some of these things real quickly. Any agenda items for the November congregational meeting, please send to me. The sheepdog, I sent everybody a note for the proposal that Tom Rossiter made to the sheriff's deputy when he was here for the sheepdogs meeting. And Pastor and I met with the sheepdogs last week to talk this out a little bit more. And the elders talked about it a little bit more. So Tom, what we asked Tom to do was to write the proposal. What I asked him to do is to write it in phases so we would have a chance to kind of get used to the idea. But he wrote up the whole thing. So I sent it out to everybody right before I left to come here. So you may not have read it yet. But it basically is to try to give sheriff's deputies and the Crossville police a place where they can stop, have coffee, go to the restroom, and write up their reports without having to sit in their cars and be in danger from somebody coming from behind them. And after a lot of discussion, there was talk about them coming in here using the presidential suite / elders dressing room / family room. And Tom thought there was a hotline phone in there, but most of you know that phone does not work. That's just a presidential hotline prop. So that was one idea. And then one of the sheepdogs said, hey, the youth room would be perfect because it's private, there's restrooms, and they could just stop in there. They wouldn't be bothered by anybody. And hey, what if we put a key code on there so they didn't need a key to get in? And so Tom was running with that, and he wanted to talk to the sheriff deputy. I said, we have to go, and Pastor Beabout really started the conversation. You have to go to council. You have to go through Wayne Croy, who goes through the elders, and then it comes to council with the conversation. So I've sent it to council, and I talked to Michelle right before this meeting, because since they have their eyes on the youth room now, I said I didn't want Michelle to get blindsided by this proposal to use the youth room. So I guess my main question is, does anybody have questions or concerns about this concept of having the police stop by? One of the advantages of it was that we've been broken into several times back there. So if some police cars were hanging around, to discourage those people that were breaking into the back.
The dog agrees. Oh, sorry. Maddie, stop. My husband's his brother, so. I was gonna mute
When
myself.
we get the sign, are we going to have it fly as Shepherd of the Hills Donut Shop?
So anyway,
There you
you know,
go.
Tom sent me a note, well, what if the police chief wants to come here and talk to me? What do I tell him? I said, tell him that your council is reviewing this proposal and that you'll get back to him. So,
So is this our idea?
I
Mine,
guess the
you
only
started
thing
putting
I-
that all
go ahead,
over.
Pat.
No. It's
Somebody from our church.
Tom Rossiter's idea, and it's a gross understatement to say that he is fired up about it. He is.
Started.
He is
going
on
at it
fire.
full throttle, and he wants us to be in a hurry. He wants us to happen quick.
Well,
The only concern I had was that he keeps mentioning that
Pastor John, yeah.
we have coffee and snacks available. Well, we normally don't have snacks except Tuesday mornings with the property guys.
yeah, we could have coffee. but no
And
snacks.
sometimes there's coffee here and sometimes there's not.
But if we're talking about the youth room, that's a different animal.
And then we have nothing over there.
Well, that's that's an easy solution. I'll donate a Keurig and some coffee and they can make their own.
Okay,
It'll be fresh,
and that's
and they
what,
just
and
make
the
their own.
sheepdogs are actually talking about getting a Keurig, so you may
Yeah,
not have to
okay.
donate it.
Yeah.
That was one of the things Sarah Bradshaw mentioned, that they could get a Keurig and just have it there so they could make a cup whenever they came in. And then Tom offered to get a bunch of snacks to put them in some kind of, wrap snacks.
Basket, yeah.
To put them in a container, mark them that they're for the sheriff's deputy, so, and,
So
so
the
now.
kids
I-
don't
Yeah, it's like they better mark
I don't know if there's any way of
really,
keeping the
no,
use
just
out
tell
of
the
those,
kids
but,
to
so those were some of the solutions that they came up with when all this was discussed. Sarah, who was a Las Vegas police officer, said they really do need this because, it's very dangerous for a policeman to sit in the car. And she said it was a good idea to give them the floor plan because that's one of the things. Tom came to John Wedlin and said, I want a floor plan. And John said, do you know about this? So a lot of things were just happening and no, we had not heard a thing about it. And the day that Tom mentioned it, when the sheriff's deputy was here, I thought, where is this coming from? I haven't heard anything about it. So, but that's what it is. And now it's before the council. So really, does anybody have any questions or concerns about this?
I'd just like to say that when it was first presented to me, I was overwhelmed by the magnitude of it, and it made me feel very uncomfortable. But since then, I've talked to people like Rick Byer, who's a former cop, Sarah Bradshaw, who's a former cop. I attended that sheepdog meeting, and I understand a little bit better how our church really is in a position to help police officers, because I never really thought about how they don't have a place to go to the bathroom when they're patrolling or when they're stuck in their car all day. So I am supportive of it, but I kind of needed to understand a little bit more. The only other thing I have is we could go through the trouble of getting the Keurig, if that's the right pronunciation, and to set things up for them. But in the back of my mind, I do kind of wonder how often will this actually happen? Like, it's a great idea in theory, but are they really going to show up on a regular basis?
I mean, even if only one or two at the time, I'd say it's time, it's one of those, a couple will do it and then a few more will start hearing about it. I think it'll eventually, and I don't think it'll be a big group of them at a time anyway.
What about thermostat issues? Would we
That
have
was
to
a
keep the youth room warm all the time?
That's a good question.
Well, they're gonna have coats on, so I wouldn't think so. And they're not gonna be there that long.
It's not like they're camping out, is it?
I mean, how, they don't have that cold. They gotta leave heat on all winter.
No, it's not on only when we're in there, so
But I mean, when it's really cold out, they have to have it. They can't. have
it's
it
at
in-
50, whatever the low is,
Yeah.
55, whatever the low, it's cold in there, it's cold when it's not heated.
Well, I guess if it was
Still-
30 outside, 50 would feel good if you, and you have a coat on.
Yeah, but then when it's in the car, that's.
I mean,
heated, so
I don't know how long they're
Yeah.
gonna be in there. I don't know.
Yeah, some of this we won't know until it actually starts happening, I guess.
Right, and one of the things that Sarah suggested is that Tom talk to the police chief and the sheriff and just say what would be beneficial for you. Because I mean, he has this whole elaborate program laid out. We may not need an elaborate program. It might, you know, so it's all those things that we're working through. And, you know, I know both the police chief and the sheriff, and I told Tom I'd be glad to talk with them or whatever. But, and this is why I wanted to bring it to council, because you've brought up things that we hadn't thought of. And so, and I think that all needs to be laid out. And I, you know, my last note to Tom, I said, we can't move forward on anything until I talk personally to the youth, our youth representative and the council. And so we just can't go do things without having everybody approve and in the loop. So that's where it stands right now, but he's ready to go with it.
Right, and I just have one question. Do you know the police chief and the sheriff because of your arrest record?
Yeah. Yeah, so do you want to disqualify me from the ballot?
Who's going to pay for the key code thing? the door thing?
Wayne Croy has gotten a price, and so it said it was $225 or something. But then again, that would be property that Wayne would have to come to property and say, we want to install this or whatever. And, you know, is that what property would recommend, whatever he's found out? I don't know. So go
And then
ahead, John.
Do we lock the door from the youth room into the fellowship hall then, or?
Well, that's another question.
You can.
Mhm.
Oh, wait. No,
think
there's not a lock between the youth room and because the bathrooms are meant for everybody.
Right.
They're not just the youths. They're meant, like, if there were a wedding or something, those people would, but I mean, there could be a lock put on the door, I suppose. And then just unlock when it's not being used.
So what is property thing?
I was just gonna say, if this all gets approved,
That's the
that,
thing. And somebody-
I like the idea of a code device,
Yeah, that's a good idea.
but just for them,
Right,
Right.
you know, because we have keys.
Oh, yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
just like normal, but
Yeah.
that code should just be for those people.
So I guess the question is, are we ready to approve this? Do we need more conversation? Does everybody need a chance to really read through what this says? What does everybody recommend? Because I'm open for suggestions on this.
Well, is there like a start date? Do we need time to sort of prepare for this? Like if we are gonna get a keypad and we are gonna get a Keurig and we are gonna set this up, you know, does it start tomorrow if we approve it today, or can we wait until January 1st? And
have to have keypad in first.
Yeah, we need to
Yeah,
get that
so-
emergency on that one.
Well, if we approve it, then it has to go to elders, right? Or the sheepdogs
Well,
first.
yeah, well,
Next.
Steve's in the loop on this. I mean, he got copied on all the notes, and that's what I told. I mean, the proper way would be to go from sheepdogs to elders to us. Now, the elders did talk about it, because Pastor was in that meeting. But, you know, and we could, and that's why I asked Tom to do a phased approach, because if they wanted to stop here, use the restroom here in the building. Chris already knows about this. She feels comfortable letting them in. During office hours, we could do that. So that could be phase one, if we wanted to do that. So we were concerned at first about, you know, a lot of traffic coming in, but we don't know how much traffic we'll get. It may just be, you know, one person stopping in. So you know,
Or they
but
may
to me,
all
that
go
was
the
a
same-
phased approach.
They all may go pick up a sandwich and maybe come and have lunch here, so it could be, you know, 6, 7, 8 of them at a time too.
Mhm.
I just can't see someone all the way across the county that would come and driving all the way over
No,
here to go to
right.
the back.
They
I
have
think
their
it would be
areas.
people that would
That's what
be
I'm
located
saying.
over
Remember,
here.
the officers.
And however many that would
It's a
be.
big
That
county,
we
too.
have, you
Yeah,
know, that
Mhm.
police this area.
yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm assuming.
Mhm. Yeah, but you know, if they're close to the police station or sheriff's
Across
office.
from Kroger's.
Yeah.
I don't know about all of them, but the sheriff's department deputies are spread pretty thin. There's a large area that they have to cover. So like from Tansy, like all the way to the county line, that might be 2 officers. So they don't, they're not, I mean, you know, like gobs and gobs guys, out there at a time.
Mhm.
Cause they're doing it basically 24 hours a day. And probably 2 or 3 shifts.
Yeah. So Sue has to leave, which means we're gonna lose Kristen on the Zoom.
I'll just leave my
Oh,
computer
you leave
here.
it? Okay.
I'm
I'm
still
sorry,
in the
Sue.
church.
Oh, okay.
I just have to go to choir.
Oh, okay. And does anybody else have to leave?
Choir's until 5 for me,
Yeah.
but Bella's, she's gonna be there at 4.
I don't want to keep everybody too much longer. We knew this was gonna be a little bit longer meeting, but I just had those couple of things. So let's just leave this till the very end, and if we have to vote or we have to defer the vote, I can explain to Tom, there's still things that we need to discuss, so that's okay.
Maybe,
Liability of people being on parking too. If they trip and fall, I mean, you're adding that too. And I know the police officers, I'm just saying that could happen.
And so Alice would
We
know
have a
whether
guy
that's covered.
camping here, so I don't think we're too worried. Liability.
Oh, okay, well, you got me there.
We are insured.
Okay,
Well,
so
no, I'm just
let's
saying,
just,
I know
let me
people
get through
yeah.
the rest of the, just quick items. Annetta Deck offered to have a concert for Shepherd of the Hill. She's given Pastor some possible dates
Dates where she gave me dates that don't work.
that don't work. So is everybody in favor of having her come? And we could do it, I mean, we could do it as a door offering, that would be for the church. Because she wants to do this as a, thank you for us. So if we did a door offering, we could have a benefit for
No
someone.
door offering, just.
You'd rather just have it open? Okay,
Sure.
okay.
Yeah.
Let me look at the dates that she can't do it.
Hmm.
Law enforcement.
Okay, she cannot do the 4th, 5th, or 6th
We're
of
waiting for
December.
minutes.
Doesn't sound like the 8th is very good either, the 12th or the 18th. So what about, what would be a good day to have something for the community, which would still probably be 80% Shepherd of the Hills?
This is,
people?
yeah, I was gonna say, is
time
it
is
this
she
for the
available?
community or
Well,
just
we
us?
can do it, there's no reason not to advertise in the Chronicle.
Oh, well, then that costs money.
Well,
I mean, some of that stuff costs a lot of
yeah,
money,
yeah, yeah.
hundreds.
I could,
Why can't we have it just for
we
us?
already have the radio slot, I can put it on the radio.
And
Well, then
we
it's
can,
changing it, so then we might have to. I don't
yeah, well,
know.
I mean, we can advertise it through the
I think-
chamber
Was she doing
because
it
we're
for
with the
us?
chamber, so we
That's
can
what I
put
thought.
that up.
Just for us?
I thought she was doing it as a thank you for allowing her to
Right.
use the space.
Okay.
Is my
Okay.
impression.
Yeah.
That's what I think. That's how I heard
Kind of a
it.
thank you
That she
thing.
prefer.
So
She
did
didn't
you see that?
necessarily, She would accommodate us.
So
What's
the
what's on the, yeah, what's on the calendar?
Go ahead, Kristen.
church is being decorated for Christmas on the 18th, is that correct?
That is correct.
So
Ooh,
we
what
would
about,
want it, we would
That's
want
nice.
it when it was decorated, right? The concert? or
Yeah.
no?
Yeah,
Yeah, I would say.
what about,
The 19th.
Do you want to mix it in with Advent service? Do you want to have it before Wednesday's Advent service?
I like the idea of a weekend. What about 3 o'clock on the 18th? That way people can go from the concert to, wait, did she service? No, that's the night of the recital. I'm sorry. The 19th, so after church. Yeah, of course, we don't want people to come to church, drive all the way to Fairfield Glades and then have to come back.
Oh, big
So
deal.
can
Not
we,
that far.
it's not that far. Well, you guys like
Later in the afternoon,
Can you do it during Bible study?
like
Or
3
during Bible
o'clock.
study?
No, not Bible study. There's a story there.
Pastor Beavat will get after us.
What about December 19th, say, what do y'all like better, 3, 4, or 5 o'clock? 3.
What
I
day
would
of the
say
week is
3
it?
and
That's
Sunday.
a
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's still
3.
4 o'clock.
Yeah,
Yeah.
still light out.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it'll be.
Okay, let's say
Dark.
3 o'clock. 3
And
o'clock.
then flat refreshments if we did.
3 o'clock on Sunday afternoon. The fourth
19th.
Sunday of Advent. Yeah, the 19th. Okay. All right, I'll present it to her and I'll confirm
Okay,
with
what
you all that that's the
Say the
date
slide
that
up.
we'll
Annetta
start.
Deck
So
concert.
if I understood
3
Alice
o'clock
correctly,
on
we don't want
12/19.
to necessarily make it a community event, just for shepherds. and
Right,
people.
I mean, we can tell our friends, but
Yeah, we can do
we're not
Yeah.
advertising.
Okay. All right, that sounds good. So this is not an attempt to get community people in the door. This is something special for Shepherd of the Hills.
December 19th, at 3 o'clock.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay,
And if we took up a donation, it would look like we were making money.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that sounds very nice. So I'm sorry, we said 3 o'clock.
okay. The other thing I wanted to mention, Tim Benecki and I started working on the Constitution and bylaws. We took all of the different versions and he has consolidated. We got the electronic versions from Fred from the last time he did the updates. And so he's consolidated the Constitution. I haven't reviewed it yet, but we're going to try to get as much done as possible so that in January, we can really start reviewing this and seeing if this was what we want to bring forth to the congregation in February. So I'd like to really get this done. And so if you have any thoughts or ideas, we'll start to share these documents with you. And the idea is to try to simplify what we have and put as much as possible in the policy and procedures manual. So we don't have to keep going back to district every time we want to make a change.
So are we changing the Constitution?
He found some things that Fred had done. So I haven't looked at it yet. He had everything the day we met. He almost had it done when we were meeting. I mean, Tim is amazing. So it's great to have him working on that. Pastor, do you have any, both pastors, do you have any thoughts or updates to share? We didn't
Well,
really get a round table here.
I just want to say, actually, I don't even know how to say thank you for the shed. The shed is big, it's beautiful, and it's gonna enable Monique and I to do so much more with our house and to give the boys the recreational space that they need and deserve. Because when we bought the house, they were still kind of little. But that is no longer the case, and they've got to spread their wings. And now that we have a juggler in the house, oh my goodness. So, I know that when the council put their heads together to put this gift in motion for us, they were thinking that it was so that we could start parking in the garage, which we've never been able to do. But actually, what we're gonna be doing now is converting our garage into a recreational area for the boys, which they need and they want very badly. And so those wheels are already in motion because this shed enabled us to do that. I don't know if you guys have seen pictures of it. Some of you have seen it up close. It's big, it's gorgeous, it has a window.
And a ribbon on it.
A ribbon on it, and, but, you know, it was on the tip of my tongue when I was making announcements for the services this last weekend to mention the shed, how it's been installed and how this was a gift from the council. But I didn't quite know what the council wanted by way of an announcement.
Probably nothing.
Yeah. So I decided to refrain, knowing that we were going to be meeting this week. And I wanted to thank you personally because it's an amazing gift, but I think there ought to be, see out there, John has it on his computer.
Oh, cool.
Something in soft notes or in a newsletter or something, but it's just, we just love it. we just love it. and-
Oh,
Okay,
You know, we don't call it fast food shed.
No.
what do you call it?
Fast food
Dog
dog.
But, you know, it wouldn't be that much of a punishment. It's not a bad facility. But, and then, yesterday, Paul Kruger, Ed Lees, and Phil, Winteroff came and they built a gorgeous ramp. My tractor, you know, my riding lawnmower rides up it perfectly, so. And we've already made exceeding use of it because, like I say, we got this project in the garage now, so, you know, and then I put so much in the shed already and there's still tremendous amounts of space and room for me, so.
You have a lock on it?
Yeah, it comes with a lot. It comes with a lot. So thank you for the extraordinary gift. I'm very touched and I'm just very, very happy to be your pastor and I love my new parsonage, my new backyard parsonage. Thank you very much. I would like to put a picture of it, if nothing else, in the newsletter. So,
You could say pastor's doghouse.
yeah.
And then just don't say anything else.
Okay,
Merry Christmas.
thank you. It is very merry.
and the
Thank
money
you.
going in and out so that we could pay for it. Our notation is a dog
Oh,
house.
really?
I started getting envelopes that said.
I wait for the IRS.
John,
That's funny. That's funny. Okay.
Nancy hasn't seen it yet.
Pastor John, is there anything you'd like to say before? we-
You want to know what it's
Yeah,
gonna
it is
be?
a couple other things.
You know, Pastor and I have put together what we hope will be a fantastic midweek Advent series that'll be coming up. And also, as you may have seen in the last couple issues of South Notes, we've met and put together the entire schedule for next year for Bible study period between the services. So we can devote that time to Bible study.
Thank you, Pastor. And I did promise Sue that she would get a chance to talk about some stuffed animal donations. So if you want to
Yes.
say that real quickly.
Yeah.
And then we'll see if anybody has anything
Okay.
else before we wrap up.
I know all of you have probably heard of the band Three Dog Night.
Yeah.
Well, I'm friends
Jeremiah
with,
was a bullfrog.
yeah. Well, I made friends with a prior drummer. He was a drummer for them from 74 to 76. And he founded an organization called Inner City Slickers, which brings all these kids that are disadvantaged to his horse farm. And he teaches them, he and his volunteers teach them how to be cowboys and cowgirls. They teach them from the very beginning all the way to the end. They teach them how to groom them, how to bond with them, because these kids have never seen a horse before. It brings a lot of smiles to these kids. Well, he also partnered with PetSmart for PetSmart to donate some wonderful stuffed animals for kids to be distributed to any charity we would like to donate them. Now, this is just two examples. These are actually dog toys. Can you see it, Kristen?
I can't see anything.
No,
You have to go over here.
These are actually dog toys, but I know
My
any
job was
child
to
that doesn't have anything, and I even love these. Here they are. Do you see?
Oh, cute.
Okay, so they have like 5 of them, and he didn't tell me what size. His person that he had in charge of this, she never called me to tell me how many they were donating. And he sent me a message the night before I was going to a Cookville appointment, which was good, that they had 10 bags. And so there were 120 of these that we had to shove into our CRV. So anyway, we have 120 of these to donate. So I was thinking House of Hope. So I've already been in touch with House of Hope. And then I talked to Nancy and she said, the sheriff's,
Yes, because they give. things
are,
out.
are connected to House of Hope.
Yeah.
So what I'm gonna do is, ICS, which is Inner City Slickers. Terry and I spent, we bought these labels. He sent me a PDF. So we bought a package of labels. So I'm having to put the ICS label. Can you see it? On each tag. So what I need to know is, how does the church, do you all want to participate in this?
Yeah, do we want to help figure out where she should donate these?
The sheriff's
Yes.
department, the deputies will keep them in their trunk. And whenever they take a child out of a house, a home, it will get.
Wow, I hope they have a lot of room in their trunks.
They only take a few at a time, I'm sure.
Okay.
And the city police do the same.
So,
And then
I've
what about-
already,
What about the Avalon Center?
I was thinking of them, and I also have been in touch with Denise of the House of Hope.
Yeah.
Well, that's through the sheriff's department. Those kids go to House of Hope.
Okay,
So
well,
that's.
so what I'll do is
all
I'll
related.
contact her and tell her that
Yeah,
our
Yes.
church is already working with the sheriffs. And
That's a great idea.
so how do I get in touch with the sheriff?
Well, let's talk about that. 'cause
Okay.
This whole
So
town
you guys
officer
like this
thing
idea
kind of
then?
fits, kind of really fits with that. And the sheriff's deputy who was here told me
I'll get
he's the
one.
one that started House of Hope.
who?
The sheriff's deputy who was here talking with the sheep, the day the sheepdogs had that event. He's the one that started House of Hope, the
Oh.
idea, because he had a child and that he's taken away from a family. He couldn't arrest the parents, take care of the child. He had to call his mom to come help. And they said, we really need someplace that'll help with children in these circumstances. And that was the start of House of Hope. So that was
Yeah,
really an
yeah,
interesting
Yeah,
story.
Butch Burgess was sheriff at that time and he was now deceased, but yeah, it was a group of. Yeah.
So,
I have somebody waiting for me in my office.
okay,
Thank you,
thanks,
everybody.
thank you, Pastor. And so, so
Yeah.
the only other item I had, Fred Munt said we should rename the Family Life Center that was previously the youth room in SLF. So we'll defer that. And we don't really need to vote on that right now, but that's just something that we have on the list. And is there anything else we need to discuss before we ask Pastor John to close in prayer? We got through a lot today, so I really appreciate everybody's patience. What
happened with the police? Are we typing
do,
that, or-
do we need to, what about the police thing? Do we need to get more information? Do we want to recommend that they can start with phase one and just stop by? We can ask them to start with phase one for now. They can stop by and have coffee, go to the restroom in the church until we figure out the next step.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah, I
that,
think-
that
I think
sound
phase one
okay?
is good. I like the phased approach, and I would like Tom to, or whoever, to present what he's, his brainstorm to us. I think that would
Well,
be good.
It's more than brainstorming. I mean, he's got it all written up.
Yeah, that'd be
Yeah.
nice to be able to see what he has written up, because
Yeah,
we have to
he
make
wanted,
sense of everything.
he wanted to come today and Pastor and I talked him out of it because our agenda was
Yeah.
too long today. And Bill Hinterman, that was at the last minute. So we really didn't want to have a guest speaker in here today. But I don't think he wants to wait till our next council meeting. So
Then
that,
I'd say
that's the
phase
thing.
one. Do a phase one, let them come into the church, grab coffee, use the restroom. Hold off all the youth stuff until we think about it.
Yeah. And then the other thing is, I'd like to have a council Christmas party if you all want to do that. So we have to think about a date and maybe at Christie's. So, we tried to do that last year. We couldn't do it because of COVID. So if everybody wants,
After the concert,
what?
maybe on the 19th after the concert.
That would be possible.
We're all
So-
here anyway.
We're
Oh, because
already
you're all the
partying.
way up there.
Yeah, and see, that's a 2-lane road and the deer are just major active on that road. I don't drive it.
Oh, this time
of year,
I went up there for
I'm sorry.
pumpkins in
Oh, did
October.
you?
I said,
Let's do this. Do we need a motion to move forward with phase one of Tom's proposal? So I think we should have a motion to do that in a second and a vote on it.
I Make the
Charlene
motion.
makes the motion to move forward with phase one of helping the sheriff and police. Do I have a second?
Second.
Michelle seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstaining? Okay, so that motion passes. I'll be able to give Tom a little good news. And then if we want to close in prayer, then I can stay here to discuss anything anybody wants to discuss after.
Oh,
But I just
after the
want,
prayer.
after the prayer, so that we don't, so that everybody knows that the official meeting will be adjourned. So
So, when are we gonna have this party on December?
we're
19th?
talking about maybe the 19th. So that's, we'll figure that out. We don't really need to have a vote on that.
Shall we pray? Dear Heavenly Gracious Father God, we thank you for the meeting that we've just concluded, dear Lord, and we thank you for guiding our thoughts and our words and our deeds this afternoon. And we pause for a special prayer for Kristen and Tim and Tim's brother in California, dear Lord, and we just pray your special blessing on this dear family of ours, dear Lord. And also we lift our prayers and thanksgiving for the healing that you've worked in Michelle, and that she's able to be with us today and feeling so much better, dear Lord. And we just thank you for this awesome ministry and the awesome people that you've entrusted to our leadership and care, dear Lord. And we do all of this for one reason and one reason only, and that's to give you glory, dear Lord. And you are our Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, and we put our faith and our trust in you, dear Lord. And we just pray that all that are gathered here at this day will have us journey home after our meeting, dear Lord. Keep them safe from all harm, danger, and evil, and in your tender loving care we pray. In Jesus' heavenly name.
Amen. Thank you. Thanks so much, everybody. And I'll be here if you want to talk about anything. And I'll help you with the